So everyone's been loving that new Kingdom Come game. You know what? We'll keep that. Let's see if YouTube counts that as swearing in the first 30 seconds. It's on my backlog, as is the first one, still. Giant RPGs like that always kind of intimidate me, which is a little weird because I'm someone who regularly throws 40 to 50 hours at Dark Souls 1 replays, but I digress. It seems like a really good, really passionately made game, and that's the kind of thing I love to see from the industry, even if the gameplay isn't really my cup of tea. And if there's one thing that we know about well-made games with gameplay more complex than red light, green light, it's that they tend to sell well on the PC. I don't mean that to be a dig at console gamers, not at all, but it's also just kind of a fact of life that more complex games tend to do better on the PC, where the platform is more complex, hence the popularity of strategy games and simulators over here. But if there's another thing we know about the dynamic between console and PC games, it's that a lot of console gamers have this weird misconception that PC gamers don't actually buy any games, and that all the PC gamers in the world just pirate everything and never pay for anything, which always makes it awkward when giant publishers like Capcom and Ubisoft make statements about how much money they're making on the PC, and it's also extra awkward when companies like Sony port their console exclusives to the PC, because obviously they wouldn't be doing that if there wasn't any money to be made by doing so, but I digress again. The point is, Kingdom Come is selling extremely well, and it put up some pretty impressive numbers, on Steam especially. Not only did this game sell over 1 million copies across all platforms within its first 24 hours, which is insane, but it also broke over 120,000 concurrent players on Steam within its first hour of release. And even though concurrent players are obviously not a direct indication of how many copies of a game have been sold, the best-selling single-player games of all time will only ever have a fraction of that buying base online at any given time because they're single-player games. However, very high concurrent player counts for single-player games do have certain implications. The fact that over 120,000 people were all playing this offline single-player game immediately upon release, that is a sign of extremely strong initial sales. And even as I'm recording this video on February 11th, roughly a week after the game came out, it's still in the Steam top sellers charts. And I, being a lovable and totally conflict-free PC YouTuber, tweeted about this news saying, PC gamers don't buy games. And wow, would you look at that? A bunch of people decided to come into my replies and try to argue that, yes, PC gamers, in fact, don't buy games, even though I'm literally tweeting out evidence that PC gamers do buy games. I'm honestly kind of amazed that I've gotten to this point where I can basically tweet out anything and get content out of it, because that's how dedicated some people are to defending console gaming and demeaning PC gaming for absolutely no reason. But anyways, I made this tweet saying PC gamers don't buy games, obviously as a joke because PC gamers do buy games, and some people actually tried to argue with me in the replies that PC gamers don't buy games, even though the post in question literally has evidence that PC gamers do buy games. Does your brain have enough holes in it? Because it's about to have a few more. Tripster responds and says 120k ain't than much. Obviously, I responded and said 120k concurrent within an hour of launch in the middle of a work week. I'm curious what you think an impressive number would be. Fantastic ratio by yours truly, by the way. And he never responded to me. Of course he didn't, because there is no response to this. Console fanboys can't put numbers on these kinds of things, because if they do put numbers on these kinds of things, it makes it harder for them to move the goalposts. 120,000 people all bought this single player game and all hopped on this single player game in the middle of a work week immediately upon the single player game becoming available. That is nuts. That is bonkers. If 120,000 people during non-peak hours were on this game, how many people do you think bought it? That's the point that a lot of us were making with this concurrent player count. Concurrent player counts are not helpful for determining how many people bought the single player game, because single player games are played on your own time. And also, unlike multiplayer games, unlike live service games, you finish a single player game. There's a whole load of single player games that I've bought and that I've finished. I'm never going to contribute to their player counts ever again, but I still bought them. That's why concurrent player counts are kind of unhelpful when it comes to determining sales. But again, that being said, 120,000 people all immediately upon this game releasing. Despite it releasing in the middle of a work week and in the middle of a work day, this was the pure opposite of peak gaming hours, and 120,000 people on one platform were all playing it. What do you think that means for the sales of the game? What do you think that means for the total player base? And even as I'm speaking right now, the player counts for Kingdom Come 2 look like this. This is how many people are playing the game right now at fucking 3:55 p.m. on a Tuesday. How many people do you think have this game in their library? But no, according to Tripster, 120k in the middle of a work week, immediately upon release for an offline single player game, that ain't that much. Please, I'm waiting to hear what would be that much. I'm waiting to hear what would be an impressive number. Again, you won't give me one, because then when that number inevitably is hit, you can't move the goalposts, because you people are all the same. I can't stand it. Oh my god. I got quote tweeted by someone named Oliver Darko, who says Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is currently #1 on torrent sites. And apparently 25 people thought this was a really great point, like a really great counter. The fact that it's #1 on torrent sites, like, yeah, it just came out. It's at the top of the sales charts. Of course it's at the top of the torrent charts as well. That being said, I find it very funny that console fanboys will dismiss Steam charts as not being indicative of good sales, but they will also throw out torrent charts as evidence of it being pirated a lot. Have you noticed that? You hear this all the time with PlayStation PC ports, and now they're doing it with Kingdom Come. You point out that the game is selling well, as evidenced by the game being at the top of the sales charts, and they'll be like, that doesn't actually mean it's a good selling game. PC gamers don't buy games. But then they'll find the game at the top of a torrent chart and be like, look, see, the fact that it's at the top of the charts automatically means the numbers associated with the chart are large. Like, so the game being at the top of a sales chart doesn't actually equal a high number of sales, but the game being at the top of a torrent chart does equal a high number of pirated copies. Do I have that right? Are you sticking with that argument? Like, either charts mean something or they don't. You literally cannot make both these arguments at the same time, but you people keep trying to, and it's really stupid. At Daily Weed Man says, now show banana game player count, laughing. Steam has 132 million users or something like that compared to 120k players. It's a flop, mate, laughing clown. Oh boy. Okay, the #1 game on Steam charts right now, the player count looks like this. Okay, so like just for some like relativeness here, but also again, 120,000 people in the middle of a work week for a single player game, an offline single player game, a game where shared servers and shared community is not important at all. 120,000 people, and you're telling me this is a flop. You're looking me in the face and telling me this is a flop. The game flopped because only 120,000 people were playing it on a fucking work day. Like, never mind the fact that there are tens of thousands, potentially even over 100,000 people playing this offline single player game at any given time. Meaning there are enough people when someone finishes their play session, someone new comes and takes their place on the player account. Someone finishes the game, someone new buys the game and boots it up. At any given time, there are tens of thousands of people playing this game on PC alone. And you're telling me that this game is a flop. No, you know what? Username checks out. Take a fucking tea break. Holy shit. No, dude, weed doesn't actually impact your mental function. It impacts yours. Fuck. Dead says 120k, not that much, lil bro. Is that a Destiny profile picture? I have to fucking Google what the Destiny logo looks like because I just don't care enough. Yeah, that totally is a Destiny thing. Huh. Interesting. So 120k isn't that much. Do we want to look at Destiny 2's player counts? Because I'll put them on screen here. It's just a little funny. I would even say this is a lot funny. The offline single player game is putting up better numbers than Destiny 2. But also, that's not that much, lil bro. Me thinks you're wrong. Craig Owen says Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is pretty much a PC game, though. What? Stebit0 says low number. PC equals piracy. 426 million PC in the world. 120,000 is a low number. 100 shrug emoji. First of all, do you really think there's only 426 million PCs in the world? Like, are we really sticking with that? Because I kind of feel like that's wrong. But even assuming that's correct, even assuming there are 426 million PCs in the world, not every PC is a gaming PC. Not every Not every PC is being used by a PC gamer. And I also noticed that you have a PlayStation profile picture here. Are we really going to make the user base percentage argument right now? Like, are we really gonna try and determine whether or not a game is a flop or success based on what percentage of the user base is playing it? Is that really the route you want to take right now as a PlayStation fan? Because God forbid we have some variety in our gaming platforms. God forbid we have lots of stuff to play over here. Also, a game doesn't have to be successful by getting whatever fucking arbitrary percentage of the user base you determine to be successful. Like again with the numbers, you guys never put a number on things. You're like, comparative to the number of users, this is a low amount. It's a low percentage of the total number of users. Therefore, it's a flop. Okay, what percentage wouldn't be a flop? It's a secret. Everything is a flop because I said so. Like fucking, oh my god. You fucking people, I swear. Shorter video today, because this one's been sitting on my backlog for a couple days. I'm only just now getting around to recording it. I had the idea over the weekend. I'm just now getting to it, and I'm trying to knock this fucker out before the state of play. Maybe I'll make a video on that if there's anything interesting. I kind of don't think there will be. We'll see if that sentence ages well or not. But it's supposed to be like a 40+ minute state of play. I guess we'll start a little counter for how many times Bloodborne isn't mentioned. But like, look, kings are gonna come, PC gamers are gonna buy games. Those are two things that are true, okay? Kings are gonna come, PC gamers are gonna buy games. Put that on a fucking coaster. Put it on a mouse pad. Put it on a mouse pad. Have you heard of novaproducts.gg? Code Joe from Seattle for a discount on a mouse pad. So Monster Hunter Worlds came out. Is it Monster Hunter Worlds or Monster Hunter Wilds? Hang on, I don't play this series. I forget which W word was at the end of the title of this game. Hang on. It's Wilds. It's Wilds. It's Monster Hunter Wilds. Whoops. So Monster Hunter Wilds came out, and depending on who you ask, it's either the greatest thing since somebody decided to slice a loaf of bread and put it in a bag, or it's the worst thing since someone decided to fart on a loaf of bread and then put it all in your mouth without cutting it first. I have no opinion. I'm not really invested in the Monster Hunter series. People keep telling me I should be. Some people have said, oh, Joe, you really like Dark Souls. You should play Monster Hunter. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'll be in a different conversation and be like, yeah, no, someone told me I should try Monster Hunter because I like Dark Souls. And then that person yells at me for saying that's really stupid. And I'm just like, I don't know. Why are you yelling at me? I'm not the one who made the comparison. So as you can probably imagine, that kind of interaction really makes me jazzed up to play Monster Hunter. And it definitely helps me understand what I'm walking into. But anyways, the point of this video really has nothing to do with Monster Hunter as a game. Like, we're not talking about the game. We're talking about the sales of the game and the platform breakdown of the game. Because the other day, it was revealed that the PC is actually the main driving platform for this game in the United States, which is interesting. It's not that surprising to me because I've been a PC gamer for a long time and I don't buy into the constant narratives that, oh, PC gamers don't buy games, PC gamers just pirate all the games, and consoles are really where all the AAA games are being sold. Consoles are the big money maker for the games. Like, I've been on PC for a while. I know that firsthand to not be true, but it's always fun to have headlines come out to confirm that for me. You know, Helldivers 2 sold primarily on PC. Capcom said a while back that they're selling most of their games in total on the PC. And now Monster Hunter Wilds is primarily selling on the PC, at least in the United States. So I, being the PC gamer with a YouTube channel, quote tweeted the news and said that I couldn't wait for the PC gamers don't buy games spin on this one, and good golly gosh, would you believe it? They're spinning it. They're doing their best. So welcome to another episode of Console Fanboys, literally staring at evidence that PC gamers buy games and still try to argue that PC gamers don't buy games. Welcome to another episode of that series that I'm apparently making now because it keeps happening and I don't understand why. Like, when there's no evidence, I can see people buying into the narrative that, oh, PC gamers don't buy as many games as console players do. If there's no evidence anywhere, I can at least see the flow chart and the red yarn that could get you to that conclusion. But when you try to present me with that conclusion in response to this, like this isn't a red yarn chart. This isn't a big web of ideas to get you from place to place. This is literally just big Times New Roman font. PC gamers bought more copies than console gamers. And you're looking at that and being like, well, listen, they actually didn't though. and here's why. And then they just give you the dumbest explanation of all time as to why reality isn't real. All in the name of defending plastic boxes with their favorite corporation's logo on them. Because that's really what this is about. So, pour yourself a drink, have another drink of green elixir, my brown-eyed beauty, and let's read some people's really dumb defenses of their objectively wrong take that PC gamers don't buy games. And yes, that was a Wicked reference that I just made. I referenced Wicked there. You clicked on a Monster Hunter Wilds video and you got a Wicked reference. You're welcome. This is why you should subscribe to me and no one else. Cancel your Hulu subscription. I'm all the entertainment you need. Okay, so some of these are going to be responses to the news and some of them are responses to my quote tweet. It really doesn't matter which one they're responding to. They're always dumb. Like this one from Shitlord90 who says, how is PC the lead platform when max concurrent was 1.5 mil and sales were already 8 mil? Because it's 2025 and we still somehow don't understand that concurrent players is not the same as sales. Because obviously not every single person who buys the game is going to be logged on and playing at the same time as everyone else who bought the game, especially not a game with this much of a global audience. That's ridiculous. But also, do you have any idea how many copies have to be sold for the concurrent player count to be up at 1.5 million? Do you realize how many people have to buy a copy of the game for that to even be possible? Because what percentage of people who bought the game are playing the game at any given time, would you say? Especially in a game like this, which is not your typical like online multiplayer game, the kinds of games that usually have really cranking concurrent players because they depend inherently on lots and lots of people being logged on for as long as possible. Monster Hunter just isn't that kind of game. So look at the Steam charts here, look at these concurrent player counts. Keep in mind that I'm taking this screenshot in the middle of a Thursday, so the fact that this is what the concurrent player count looks like is kind of insane. But look at these numbers and ask yourself, in order for those numbers to be that high, how many copies of the game have to have sold around the world? How many people would have had to buy a copy of the game? Because everyone plays games at different times. Every region of the world has different peak hours for stuff like this. And yet, we still managed to get 1.5 million people concurrently playing the game. How many copies do you think had to sell in order for these stars to align? If the total sales are 8 million, I have absolutely no trouble believing that the PC is the driving platform. I have zero problem believing that platform breakdown. Because, I actually understand how Steam charts work. Always the Truth responds to the news and says, this game is not cracked. So, the only reason it sold so much on the PC is because it's not cracked. Fascinating. Several things wrong here, though. First of all, just because a game is not cracked doesn't mean it can't be pirated. Like, please tell me you don't actually think that's how this works. That if a game is not cracked, that means you can't pirate it in any way. That's, self-evidently not true. A game being cracked does make piracy easier, sure, but it's not like piracy is impossible without the game being cracked. Like, you're trying to argue here, and we're going to hear a bit more from this guy later in the video, so don't think I'm putting words into his mouth. He does believe that the reason why the game sold so well on PC is simply because it wasn't cracked. As if all the habitual pirates in the PC gaming community just threw up their hands and were like, well, better pay full price for this one. Gosh, oh golly, Capcom, you got me this time. This also suggests that there is a gigantic portion of the PC gaming community that pirates all the games, which, like, yeah, a lot of people do pirate games, but a lot of people buy games. That's why people keep putting games over here. If the piracy was such a problem to the extent that the only way to sell a bunch of copies of a PC game is to ensure that it's never cracked, if that actually were true, what are you saying about the PC gaming community? Never mind the fact that that's totally not true. There's plenty of games that get cracked immediately and still sell great. The same way that there's games that are never officially cracked, but are perfectly piratable. And I also think it's funny that these kinds of people never had a word to say about how many copies sold that pre-owned games were taken away from console copies. No one was ever complaining about the fact that people were buying pre-owned copies over new copies of console games. But suddenly when people are pirating games over buying games, on the PC, even though PC games are still selling tremendously and there's still a ton of money being made on PC game sales, almost as if the piracy rates aren't enough to deter people from the amount of profits still to be made here. Suddenly that's an issue, but pre-owned games taking tons and tons and tons of potential sales away from console games for decades now, that was just never really a problem to you because the proper copies are still selling well enough to support the devs. The publishers are making enough money off of proper copies. It's okay if there's pre-owned copies. But piracy, while the PC games are still making money, piracy, no, that's different. That's different. We got to put our foot down there. Light Nemesis responds to my quote tweet and says, you think being the lead in a week in the weekly dollar sales metric only in the US region automatically means that the game sold more units on PC than a console worldwide? Reminder of what I said. This is what they're responding to. I'm not entirely clear on where I said any of that because I didn't. But, phenomenal goalpost move there. The multi-platform game sells the majority of its copies on the PC in the United States, which is the single biggest gaming market in the world. But we can't be impressed about that. We can't talk about that. That doesn't deter the narrative that the PC gamers don't buy games, because that's what I was saying. I was saying that this counters the narrative that PC gamers don't buy games. But now you swoop into action. You're like, yeah, but what about the rest of the world? Which is funny, because aren't the console guys the same ones that love to dismiss the global PC gaming market when it comes to multi-platform game sales and user bases? Aren't you the same people who were doing that with Black Myth Wukong 5 minutes ago? When it was revealed that Black Myth Wukong sold the majority of its copies on the PC, and all the PlayStation dudes were springing into action to say, well, that was just in China. It's all just because of China. It's just China. That doesn't count as PC gamers buying games because it happened outside of the United States. PlayStation still was the majority supporter of Black Myth Wukong because something in the United States. But now this report comes out, and suddenly it's the total flip-flop. It's like, well, that report doesn't matter because it was only the United States. When the multi-platform game sells the majority of its copies on the PC worldwide, suddenly America is the only country that matters. But when the multi-platform game sells the majority of its copies on the PC in America, suddenly it's the rest of the world that matters more now. It's just convenient, mighty convenient. This one's not directly about the sales, but it's from JTech, so I had to throw it in there. It says, I guess PC fans are tired of seeing the ads like this, so now they're going to attack the PS5 Pro because Monster Hunter Wilds is showing the world that they have weak PCs. Implying that there's something like inherently wrong with the PC because there's ads for the PS5 version, which, little irony alert here that you're like repping the PS5 ads for Monster Hunter Wilds and then the PC version still outsold you. So what is your point here? That there were a bunch of PS5 game ads that people didn't pay attention to? Or what is probably even more likely is PC gamers saw a pop-up for this ad with the PS5 logo on it, but also the Monster Hunter Wilds logo on it. And they were like, oh, cool, Monster Hunter Wilds. I should try that on my PC. Like, truly, I don't understand what the point you're trying to make here is. The existence of an advertisement for a certain version of the game, I don't get it. Why did you even put this on the internet? It's wasting my internet. Get rid of it. Delete it, please. Skimpy responds to my quote tweet and says, oh, I thought the PS5 was more popular than the PC. What happened? All those shit talking about consoles will sell more than PC. They get a response from @Joker on the kill. What is it with absolute brainlit console fanboys and calling themselves Joker? Have you noticed that? What is the deal with that? But they respond and says, finally a game y'all bought out of how many games total? Y'all buy one game and now PC is the platform. Keep it consistent then. I love this. I love how many times I've seen this. A multi-platform game sells really well on the PC. PC guys are like, oh, I thought we were just a bunch of pirates. And the console guys are like, yeah, you are a bunch of pirates. This game's just the exception. And then it happens again. And they come in and are like, yeah, but this one's also the exception. Then it happens again. They're like, well, this one is another exception. Like, how many times has this happened just in recent memory? Again, Capcom came out not too long ago and said the majority of their game sales across all of their games, the majority of their copies are being sold on the PC. Not only that, the PC is buying more than all the consoles combined. And if that's not enough, how about Pal World, which sold the majority on PC? How about Helldivers, which sold the majority on the PC? How about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which sold majority on PC? What about those reports that Square Enix is apparently stoked about the PC sales numbers for Final Fantasy? What about the metric boatload of dollary dues Microsoft has made off of putting games like Halo on the PC? And what about frickin' Sony? Sony's making buku bucks on the PC. Like, you guys can't have exceptions forever. It just doesn't work that way. If the exception to your like mindset, to your like worldview, if you're just getting exceptions to that left and right, you might just be fucking wrong. You might be the one who's wrong. One more. I told you we'd come back to this guy. MJ says, and people wonder why Capcom says PC is their main platform. Always the truth says yes, but this game is not cracked. MJ says, and Split Fiction is cracked and still had 260 concurrent players. Same goes for Kingdom Come Deliverance. Sit down and shut up. Always the truth says Split Fiction, not cracked. So just in case you thought I was going too hard on this guy earlier and putting words in his mouth saying that he thinks the crackiness of the game is the only thing keeping it from being pirated. No, that is explicitly what he believes. If a game is not cracked, it can't be pirated, and therefore that's the only way a game can be financially successful on the PCs, if it's not cracked. Because not only does a game not being cracked mean the game can't be pirated, but also it means if a game is not cracked, then all of the people who don't buy games will now buy games. That's how you view this. You're stupid. You are just stupid. Maybe I'll try Monster Hunter Wilds. Maybe I won't. It is a bit of an intimidating game to jump into just because of the sheer size and commitment of the whole thing, he says, as he replays Dark Souls for like the 70th time, and continues putting hours into 100%ing the Brotato DLC on another platform because he can't get enough of that game for some reason. I'm glad that people are finally recognizing that the PC is a viable marketplace, and it's more than a viable marketplace, it's an extremely lucrative marketplace. Keep supporting the PC. It's an open platform, it's a more pro-consumer platform, and the gaming industry as a whole benefits from the PC being heavily supported over the corporatism of the consoles. And now it's time for the Doofus Club shoutouts. If you join the channel for 99 cents, you get to be part of the Doofus Club. Now, there is currently something happening in the PC gaming space that I wasn't really expecting. Black Myth Wukong, the pretty looking monkey game, is absolutely shredding Steam charts right now, like to an insane degree. I figured this game would be popular. I figured this game would have a big following, especially on PC. You know, basically any Souls-like or Souls-light type game like this is going to have a big following on Steam. But this big of a following? This is ridiculous. And frankly, I'll take it. As an enjoyer of Souls-likes and Souls-lights, I'll take this. I like seeing the genre succeed. I like seeing gameplay first experiences like this, you know, completely separate from anything you feel about the game itself, about any of the weird drama surrounding this game, because there was a bunch of really just stupid drama surrounding this game, completely separate from the Denuvo situation, which I have a lot of problems with, but just this game on its own. I absolutely love seeing gameplay first experiences shred player counts like this and shred sales charts like this. I love seeing the example be set that players around the world want gameplay first experiences from the AAA industry. I love seeing that example be set. So all other things aside, I'm happy about this. I absolutely encourage the monkey game to keep going the way it's going. But if you read the title of this video, you might be a little confused. Joe, how could this be if PC players don't buy games? Also, what? Who's saying PC gamers don't buy games? Obviously PC gamers buy games because that's why companies keep porting games to the PC. That's why companies keep releasing games on the PC. They wouldn't be doing that if there was no money to be made. Well, dear viewer, the other day, when news came out that Black Myth Wukong was doing super well on Steam and setting a bunch of records on Steam, a handful of people who are still buying into this delusion that console gaming is like the ultimate peak of gaming and that PC gaming is just dumb and nobody actually PC games, even though there's way more PC gamers worldwide than console gamers, even though every single new console, you know, evolution, every new piece of console hardware is literally just the consoles catching up to the PC, there are still people out there who insist that PC gamers are all just a bunch of filthy pirates who don't actually buy the games, and that companies are destroying themselves by porting games to PC or releasing games on PC or supporting the PC in any way. Which is why, in response to the news that Black Myth Wukong is doing really well on Steam, a decently sized number of people took that as the opportunity to remind everyone that PC gamers don't actually buy games, while literally staring down the barrel of evidence that PC gamers buy games. Like, let's just think about this. You see that Black Myth Wukong is selling like crazy, is being played like crazy, is setting concurrent player count records and sales records on Steam, a PC platform, and your response to this is that no, don't listen to them. PC gamers are still pirates who don't buy games. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Do you think I'm making this up? Do you think people actually weren't doing this? Well, dear viewer, strap yourself into your chair with a steel-bound seatbelt because I'm going to blow your butthole off of your butt. I don't know why I said that. Anyways, German Strands tweets out a screenshot of the Steam chart, says Black Myth Wukong is absolute cinema. Gets a response from someone named Chad Play who says, PC gamers don't buy games. You're impressed by this small number on Steam. Meanwhile, on PS5 consoles, there must be at least 5 million players. Which I think is funny. You're saying that the Steam numbers are unimpressive and small, while you literally just admit that you don't know the PS5 numbers. You're saying, oh, PS5, there must be at least 5 million, but where are you getting that number from? Oh, there must be 5 million because I said so. Oh, don't worry, Chad Play said so. Let's keep going. Final Fantasy XVI had 3 million players on PS5 in 3 days, but on PC it won't even reach 100,000. Sony is wasting its time releasing games for PC. So, Final Fantasy had 3 million players in 3 days. Black Myth Wukong gets 1.4 concurrent in, what, 1 day, 2 days? I don't actually remember what day this came out, or at least by the time this screenshot was taken. But 1.4 million concurrent players, not total players, concurrent players, 1.4 million, which means the actual buyer count is way more than 1.4 million, because obviously everyone who bought this game is not going to be playing it 24/7. That's not how games work. That's not how humans work. We don't have exact sales numbers yet, but the fact that 1.4 million people concurrently are playing this game means that the sales numbers are way, way higher than that. Because how many people are taking breaks? How many people finished it already? Probably not that many, but how many people bought the game, played a bit, and then went to bed? How many people bought the game and are currently installing it? How many people saw that concurrent player count and were like, oh, I should pick that game up, and are going to buy it right now? 1.4 million concurrent does not equal 1.4 million sold. You're talking Final Fantasy XIII, 3 million total sales in 3 days. Black Myth Wukong is over here with 1.4 million concurrent players right now, which means the sales are way higher than that. And you are calling this a small number. You call 1.4 million concurrent players a small number, but are also then jacking off over 3 million total on the PS5. Do I have that right? Do I have that correctly? Let's keep going. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. After the game passed 1 million concurrent players on Steam, I quote tweeted the news from Shinobi and said I would love to hear the PC gamers don't buy games spin on this one, not actually thinking anybody would argue with me, but oh, don't worry, someone tried, because Thel Van Dam responded to me and says, you guys don't. How many times do you see this happen? BG3, Helldivers 2, Alan Wake 2? Just because one game achieves this doesn't mean you guys buy games. And I love when people do this. I love when people tell me, literally tell me personally, that I don't buy games. You are literally responding to me, a person who buys games, and you're telling me that I don't buy games. Oh, my bad. Guess that money will just go back into my pocket then for all those games I definitely didn't buy, apparently. But I love this. Just because one game achieves this after you listed several other games? Question mark? Also, Alan Wake 2. Are you not paying attention? Alan Wake 2 didn't do shit on PC. Alan Wake 2 might as well have not even come out on PC. And you're using that as evidence that PC gamers buy games? If Alan Wake 2's PC numbers are high enough for you to be like, yeah, well, that one was an exception. Holy shit, PC gamers buy everything then. Are you stupid? But yes, apparently, PC gamers don't actually buy games, and Black Myth Wukong, Baldur's Gate, Helldivers, and Alan Wake are just exceptions to the rule that we don't buy games, which means nobody bought GTA on PC, nobody bought Cyberpunk on PC, nobody buys the Dark Souls games, nobody bought Elden Ring, nobody bought Starfield. Like, just look around you. There is so much money being made on PC. PC gamers are so willing to buy games, they're spending money on Call of Duty. Guys, I thought we were better than that. But the reason I love this comment so much is that you contradict yourself in your own post, and you don't notice it. You say this only happened for one game after you listed other games, but also what you're doing here is you're just admitting that you don't care about reality, because you are literally listing examples of your ideology being wrong and then reiterating that you still think you're right. PC gamers don't buy games, except for all the games they do buy. Those don't count. Like, homie, why do you care so much? I'm sorry I said homie. I'm really sorry I said that. It's my first day back from vacation. I just got back from Maui. I've been swimming with turtles. I've been drinking Mai Tais. I've been discovering how delicious rum is and feeling like a pirate. But just, God, I'm always amazed at how eager some people are to do this. It makes no sense. What purpose does it serve? But don't worry, there's more. Nib95 tweets out screenshots of the concurrent player counts and says Black Myth Wukong is a massive success, already reaching 4th highest peak concurrent players of all time on Steam. Gets a response from Tim Ward with the Ghost of Tsushima profile picture, and whose bio literally says Sony Interactive Entertainment, says, I think it shows how starved PC gamers have been for a new quality single player game, which I think is funny, because you guys are definitely not going to be keeping this same energy the next time a single player game comes out on console and does well. Like, look at the top selling games on Steam of 2023. PC gamers were buying the shit out of single player games. Look at the Steam top sellers charts. We continue to buy the shit out of single player games. But again, I'm not expecting you guys to keep this same energy the next time the next, cinematic Sony third person action game comes out and does really well. If the next Sony game comes out and does really well, I don't expect you to turn around and be like, man, I sure was starved for a good new single player experience. No one was starved. A new game just came out. It's not that deep. Here's a thread. This one's fun. Nose says, but PC gamers don't buy games, and has a screenshot of the Steam DB numbers for Black Myth Wukong. Gets a response from someone named Mr. Johnson with the Last of Us profile picture, so you know this take is going to be phenomenal. Says, PC gamer has been starving for games. Finally got one. Yes, PC gamers have been starving for games, even though we have all of our games and all of your games. We're starving for games, even though we have all of your games and more. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how this one works out for you. Nose responds, says, I think you've been seriously misinformed, but it's okay. You can learn new things every day. Mr. Johnson responds, would love to know any good games that you can't play on console. So, nice attempt at moving the goalposts there. The initial point you were making was that PC gamers are starving for games, but now you're saying we're starving for exclusives, I think is the point you're making, or games that you can't play on console, which is still not a great point. There are a lot of PC exclusive games in the AA, in the AAA, in the indie sphere. There is a laundry list of PC exclusive games that aren't on console and probably never will be on console. But then on top of that, we also have the laundry list of games from previous consoles that we can emulate, you know, console games that you don't have anymore on console, but we do. So I'm not really sure why you even tried to move the goalposts here, because this is an infinitely stupider goalpost. But no, says that was not the point you were originally trying to make here, mate, but to answer your question, I honestly don't know and don't care. Bragging about exclusives, dumb to me. Mr. Johnson says, it was my point. This game is the first since Elden Ring that caused any big hype, so yeah, point proven. So Black Myth Wukong is the first game to cause any big hype on PC since Elden Ring, which means, you know, Starfield, that didn't happen. Armored Core, that didn't happen. RE4 Make, which sold tremendously on PC, that didn't happen. Dragon's Dogma, that sold tremendously on PC, that didn't happen. Baldur's Gate, didn't Baldur's Gate come out after Elden Ring? No, that didn't happen. Wasn't it 5 seconds ago that there was that big MMO thing? What was it called? Last Descendant? That didn't happen. God, you guys are something else. You guys are something else, and I don't understand it. Rep tweets out the screenshot, says, but PC gamers don't buy games. I assume they're being sarcastic here. Vamos Real, who says, yep, you plebs and peasants are proudly pirating and stealing them, you dirty thieves. Skull emoji, ain't that right? At a couple people, thrash at someone, is spitting facts here at someone else. So we're literally staring at evidence that people are buying the game, because even if you want to say that, I don't know, half of the copies of Black Myth Wukong are pirated. Even if you want to say that the game is cracked already and that it's being spread around like crazy and that's how this Steam number is getting so high, even if you want to say that 50% of the player base of Black Myth Wukong is pirated, that still means over 700,000 concurrent players bought it legitimately, and as we established earlier in the video, 700,000 concurrent is way more than 700,000 sales. And the game just came out, and this is only on one platform. I do not understand what point you're trying to make. It doesn't make sense. But they get another response from someone named Eskiboy. In response to someone saying that PC gamers don't buy games, he says they buy cheap keys, which the game just came out. Keys are not that much cheaper than buying it through Steam, but also if we bought a key, that means we still bought the game. You say, like, you're arguing against the fact that PC gamers buy games, and your argument is that they buy games. Are you stupid? What? By this logic, you have to discount console players who buy games on sale or who buy games used. But you're not going to do that because that's a stupid thing to do. Why are the rules different for PC? I don't get it. Okay, look, I had no interest in playing the monkey game. I really just didn't care. And after I made this video about how much I hate De Nouveau, you can probably guess some of the reasons as to why I didn't care about the monkey game. But like I said earlier, I encourage the monkey game to do well because I want a gameplay first experience like this to be setting a positive example in the industry. And if you seriously, genuinely, truly believe that PC gamers don't buy games, I just don't know what to tell you at this point. I just don't get it anymore. But this was fun. My brain's only a little bit dead. Welcome back from vacation, Joe. Here's the stupidest takes you've seen all year. All right, toodles. So everyone seems to be loving the Silent Hill 2 remake. Good for you, I guess. I haven't played it yet. I'm not really in any rush to play it because I literally am just the meme of the OG Silent Hill 2 enjoyer. I still haven't played the RE4 make because I'm that much of a stick in the mud about the original. Sue me, I like old games. And I'll inevitably play the Silent Hill 2 remake, just like I'll inevitably play the RE4 make, and I'm sure I'll inevitably end up liking them and inevitably eat all the crows in the world. But until then, I'm going to stand firm in my mud because I'm a stick. I'm a stick and I stick in the mud. I don't know why I'm introing the video like this. So the other day, some sales data started to trickle out about the Silent Hill 2 remake. Not only did Bloober Team confirm that 1 million copies of the game were sold in the first 3 days, but we also got a report about the sales platform breakdown in Europe specifically. According to the breakdown, about 78% of Silent Hill 2's copies were sold on the PS5 and the remaining 22% were sold on the PC. Granted, that is just in Europe, but it is an interesting little piece of information. And of course, the PlayStation fanboys started running rampant with this news, because what is a PlayStation fanboy if not a perpetually scared of the PC person? Every single time a new PC port of a PlayStation game comes out, these people literally set themselves on fire. Okay, not literally, but they kind of set themselves on fire. So of course, when sales data comes out of a PC and PS5 game that confirms the PS5 version grossly outsold the PC version, of course they're going to run with it and make fools of themselves. And why are they making fools of themselves? Well, because nobody really clicked on the article there. And because nobody clicked on the article there, no one was seeing the little bit right here about how Europe only accounts for 20% of Silent Hill 2's total sales. That is the data people are using to say that PC gamers worldwide don't buy games, and that PC gaming is dead, and that publishers should start skipping the PC altogether in favor of PlayStation exclusivity. No, I'm not kidding. People actually used this data as evidence to say that, and we will get into those people in just a minute, but first I want to lay out a few major points so we're all on the same page about why this data is the way it is, and why everyone's takes on this data are so stupid. First of all, the PC version of this game dropped right after a bunch of other high-profile PC games, like God of War Ragnarok, and Metaphor, and Final Fantasy XVI, and Dragon Ball, releasing a full-priced remake with a bunch of Unreal Engine nonsense right after all those games is just a hard sell on the PC. So of course numbers are going to be lower than they probably would have otherwise been. Second of all, the PC market has way more games to play than the console market does, so there is inherently less incentive to run out and buy a new AAA game before a sale, or before at the very least a performance patch. Point number 3, PC gamers have access to OG Silent Hill 2, console players do not. So there is once again inherently less incentive to run out and buy the Silent Hill 2 remake if you're a PC player, especially if you know about the Enhanced Edition on PC, which if you're a PC gamer and you like Silent Hill 2, chances are you do know about the Enhanced Edition of Silent Hill 2. But point number 4, and this is probably the biggest one, this data is still more than 1 in 5 copies being sold on the PC. That is a huge market, especially since single-player PC games have proven time and time again to have longer legs than console games do, because so many PC gamers actively wait for sales or patches before buying. Release hype of AAA games is always lower on the PC because it's just a difference in the market. This is why multi-year-old games routinely top the sales charts on Steam once they go on sale. Just looking at the Steam top sellers charts right now on October 22nd of 2024, in the Steam top sellers charts, there's Armored Core 6 and Baldur's Gate 3 and Civ 6. Single player games have very long legs on the PC because people wait for sales and patches, and because people wait until outside of the release window here. It's not a captive market like the console market is. So the fact that Silent Hill 2, a game that was heavily marketed as a big console exclusive tentpole game for Sony, and a remake of a game that PC gamers already have access to, the fact that it came out swinging with 1 in 5 copies being sold on PC, that is actually a very good number. But again, these numbers are coming exclusively from Europe. Here's how the gaming market breaks down by country. Do you notice where Europe is? That's not meant to be shade at Europe, but it is meant to be an indication that Europe is not indicative of the entire games market. And it is very silly to try and equate Europe to the entire video game market, because it's just not true. But like I said, PlayStation dudes are so eager for a win over the PC this year that they took this news and they ran with it. Where did they run to? They ran to very stupid places. Project Latitude says for Silent Hill 2 in Europe, 78% of sales are on PS5 and 22% on PC. Yes, this is physical and digital sales. Silent Hill is effectively considered PlayStation franchise now. PC cucks aren't buying shit. So PC cucks aren't buying shit, even though you agree that 1 in 5 copies are sold on PC. 1 out of every 5 copies was bought by a PC gamer, but PC gamers don't buy anything. That's a little interesting. Also, again, we're talking Europe. Europe accounted for 1/5 of Silent Hill 2's total sales. And the funny thing about percentages is when you're making a percentage out of a smaller number, it is easier to impact that percentage. 78% of 20% of the total is not actually that big of a number total, but I know numbers are very hard to understand. I also find it very ironic that your profile picture is Helldivers 2 when the PS5 version of Helldivers 2 was globally outsold by the PC version. Methinks someone is a little bitter. Also, if Silent Hill is a PlayStation franchise now because the PS5 version outsold the PC version, doesn't that mean Helldivers is now a PC franchise? Doesn't that mean that's ours now? It's ours. Give it to us. All your Helldivers belongs to us. J Money Deuce says this is embarrassing and quite telling for PC gamers. Oh yeah, it's quite telling and it's embarrassing that not only did a lot of PC gamers buy the game, but it's also embarrassing that PC gamers wait for a game to be patched and made a more reasonable price before they spend money on it. Man, I sure am embarrassed to be a smarter consumer than you. That's a weird thing to say. Separatist says PC players don't buy these games. We have had this discussion before. With those numbers, it probably would have been better PS5 exclusive. 22% of the copies sold are on PC. But you think the game would have been better off not making those sales? You think it's in the game's best interest to just not sell 22% of its copies? Again, never mind the fact that this is just one region, and this is a very small region, in terms of the global sales. Never mind all of that. Let's do what these people are doing and blow this up to a global scale. You think it's in a company's best interest to drop 22% of its market? How are you just... Oh my God. Sometimes I see these people on Twitter and I just pray that they actually get to run a company someday. Because I just want to watch. I just want to see what happens. PC gamers don't buy games. They should have been PC. It should have been PS5 exclusive. Okay, there goes more than 1/5 of your entire market. How smart you are. Let's give you more decision-making power. Good golly, I wonder why people don't take PlayStation fanboys seriously. Andrea LS1 says, here's why Konami had no intention of developing the PC version. But they did. They did develop the PC version. Did they just accidentally make the PC version? Fucking oops, all PC ports. Skeletor says Silent Hill belongs on PlayStation, just like Final Fantasy. It really is just about ticking boxes to you guys. It really is just increasing the number of franchises that people can't play unless they buy the right plastic box. That's really all that matters to you people. It upsets you that these franchises are on multiple platforms. Silent Hill belongs on PlayStation. It's there. Final Fantasy belongs to PlayStation. It's there. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if it's on other platforms or not? It's on PlayStation. It belongs on PlayStation. It's there. What's the problem? Oh, the problem is that it's on other platforms, right? The problem is that it's on other platforms. These franchises would benefit somehow from not being played by more people, right? And not being bought by more players, not being enjoyed by more players. No, it would benefit these games to only be on PlayStation. Why? Well, because they'd only be on PlayStation then. That's the reason. Snub says PC gamers didn't buy SH2 because Angela, a traumatized R victim, doesn't look fuckable to them. SMH. Yes, that's the only reason. See, that's the only reason PC gamers didn't buy it. It's because they want to fuck the R victim. Had nothing to do with the full price, or the crammed release schedule, or the stuttery launch, or the fact that a lot of PC gamers just didn't see the point in buying it right away because we have the OG version with a bunch of really great mods. No, this is the reason why. This is the reason why. Based on, what, 2 or 3 tweets that you saw once? Yeah, that's the reason why PC gamers didn't buy the game. Never mind the fact that you're saying this in response to evidence that PC gamers did buy the game. PC gamers did not buy the game. Okay. This is great. This is wonderful online discourse. Our brains are firing at very high speeds today. Starfield SS54 Meta Yikes says Silent Hill 2 sales for Chris, 78% on PS5, only 22% on PC. PlayStation fans are talking to them. And then a screenshot from the article, and cleverly did not include in the screenshot that Europe only accounts for 20% of the total sales. We are equating 20% of the total sales to the overall market. That's a good, smart thing to do. Manic responds and says, how is that a bad for PC? This franchise has always been associated closely with PlayStation. It makes perfect sense that it's selling better there. I'd say it's probably 1 in 4 sales on PC worldwide. Not bad at all. Future Silent Hill games can grow that number on PC. Then Starfield responds, definitely bad for PC, no matter how you try to spin it. I love this thing that people do where they present something as evidence that like PC gaming's dying. PC gaming sucks and look at my evidence. Then someone's like, wait, that evidence doesn't make sense. And then you're like, nice try to spin it. Nice try spinning the information. It's like, they didn't spin the information. They just wanted you to elaborate. Like that's your evidence made no sense. They're asking you to elaborate. Literally, first sentence is, how is that bad for PC? This is the opportunity for you to tell them how it's bad for PC, but instead, you're like, nah, it's bad for PC because it's bad for PC. Stop trying to spin it. Motherfucker, what? Big B Wolf says, this is the problem with PC. I don't really want to know how many people are playing this game illegally. So the problem with PC is that we wait for sales. Problem with PC is that we wait for sales. That's a huge problem for PC. The problem with PC is that we wait for sales and that we have access to the original game when you don't. That's the problem with PC. No problem with consoles. Consoles are great. Consoles, you pay full price for the remake and don't have access to the original game or gaming history as a whole. It's a problem for PC that they have access to gaming history. Ugh. Imagine. It's a problem with PC that we wait for games to be cheaper. Ugh. What bitches they are on the PC. And then right underneath him, I got this little 3-piece screenshot here. Wick says PCs are for typing emails. Dave Gunn says PC are overrated. Japan hates Xbox. Says no Silent Hill fan would ever give a crap about PC, so this makes perfect sense. I hope the next Silent Hill games skip PC. No Silent Hill fan would ever give a crap about PC, but the objectively best way to play original Silent Hill 2 is on PC. And if you're a Silent Hill fan who wants to play the most Silent Hill games possible, the only platform to do that on is the PC, because the PC has all the Silent Hill games, including PT, by the way. But yeah, no Silent Hill fan gives a crap about PC. Oh golly, you people are fun. I love that at this point you can just smell the desperation coming off the PlayStation crowd. It's like you are so desperate for a W over the PC at this point. It's getting weird. No, it's been weird. It's getting weirder. I'm interested to see what the sales breakdown is worldwide for Silent Hill 2. I kind of have a gut feeling we're not gonna know, because generally speaking, worldwide platform breakdowns like that don't really come out. I'm not entirely sure why, because they used to, but just weird thing about the gaming industry now is that we're a little cagey about what platforms actually sell exactly how many copies with games these days. But anywho, Silent Hill 2 is selling well, it's being received well, and both of those things are good. Games that are well received and that sell well are a good thing for everyone because it sends messages. It sends messages to the industry that, hey, these good games, we want to buy more of these good games. And PC gamers hesitating to buy games at full price with stuttery performance when the original game is readily available to us, that is also sending a good message of, hey, if you want our money, you're gonna have to try harder. These are all good things happening right here, okay? And if you're a PlayStation guy, you're welcome for being a PC player that's just carrying your market, apparently, because not only is Sony absolutely pissing themselves to get their games on the PC, but they're also absolutely pissing themselves to get PSN accounts into PC games so they can juice their PSN numbers, because your guys' PSN numbers aren't doing it for them anymore. But that's just one man's observation. Anyways, that's really all I had to say on the matter. I just think it's funny. Have fun playing Twitter instead of playing games. I'm gonna go back to playing games. Toodles. So, Horizon Forbidden West has launched on PC. Did you know that? You probably did not. Sony's done it again. You have to at least respect their consistency when it comes to launching PC ports of major first-party games with hardly any marketing and the worst release window imaginable. Some of my favorite instances of this include Uncharted 4, which not only launched on PC before the first 3 Uncharted games, but it also launched with no marketing less than 2 weeks before Call of Duty. Then, just in case that wasn't big-brained enough, they literally launched Sackboy on PC 2 weeks later with, you guessed it, no marketing. Another great example could be when Returnal launched on PC with very minimal marketing, and then the main PlayStation Twitter account literally forgot to tweet about it until the next day, because that's how much of an afterthought Sony's PC marketing is. But of course, the most recent example of this is Horizon Forbidden West, which launched on PC on March 21st, precisely 1 day before the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2, and as per usual, had hardly any actual marketing. Horizon Forbidden West launched on PC on March 21st, and just like clockwork, a number of PlayStation fanboys came out of the woodwork to yell and cry and shit their pants about it, because they'd rather be doing this than playing games. You know, Dragon's Dogma 2 just came out, and so did Rise of the Ronin, which is PlayStation exclusive, so you'd think the PlayStation dudes would be focusing on that instead of crying about Sony making some quick cash off the PC, but I guess not. I mean, I say it every time that Sony is really smart for doing this because the PC dudes are never going to buy a PS5. We've already proven that we're not going to buy a PS5, so why not port your games over to PC and allow us to throw you a few shekels where we otherwise would not have? The PC isn't a direct competitor to the PlayStation, and Sony shouldn't be treating it like one. And on top of that, if you really think the Horizon games are awesome and you love Sony's first-party games, you would think that you would be first in line to get excited that more people will now have access to what you believe to be a fine piece of art, right? Right, dear viewer? Isn't that what the PlayStation fanboys would want? For more people to play the game that they like so much? Can you guess where this is going now? So pretty quickly after the official release, Horizon Forbidden West was cracked on PC. Apparently what DRM there was in this game was incredibly low effort and like not actually that hard to crack, which is why it happened in 30 seconds. Not that I have a problem with low effort security, I just think it's interesting to point this out, you know, so soon after Helldivers 2 had such strict cybersecurity. But a lot of PlayStation dudes were really mad about this, like Jay, who says, broke-ass master race, only rent, don't buy, pirate games, truly parasites to the industry, no wonder you only get bird's eye view strategy games as exclusives. So obvious stupidity of those last few words about the bird's eye view exclusives aside, I do want to point out that despite this game getting cracked in 30 seconds, Horizon Forbidden West still managed to crack the top 3 on Steam. And we, ironically, were also buying a PlayStation game more than the PlayStation gamers were not too long ago. But I understand if you guys don't really want to talk about that. I'd imagine it's a tad embarrassing. But also, going back to the last few words of this tweet, the thing about the only getting bird's eye view strategy games as exclusives, do I actually have to go back to this one? Do I actually have to talk about this one? Like, do I really? It's like one of the biggest shooters on the planet. It's only available on PC, but definitely still use bird's eye view strategy exclusives as a point against the PC. Like, why are we still doing this one? J-Dub tweeted about the 30-second crack, and then Joe Gardapete quote tweets and says, all that work to put in the extra features for the PC release just for the PC crowd to steal it in the end. It doesn't affect my bottom line, but how happy is Sony going to be only selling a few copies? Again, it's in the Steam top 3, so clearly the people pirating this game are not a big enough group to divert Sony away from making profits off the copies they're selling properly, because the PC market is a flippin' massive market, and it's about time that Sony start taking advantage of that. I also can't help but notice that the PlayStation guys never really seemed to have a problem with how many pre-owned physical copies of PlayStation games were selling, or how close to the launch of the game that a pre-owned copy of it was available. In fact, the physical games marketplace is one of the main arguing points people still bring up when arguing that console gaming is better than PC gaming, so I just can't help but find comedy in the fact that so many people are so mad about the mere existence of piracy on the PC. when the pre-owned games market, which also contributes zero to the publisher just like piracy, is somehow any different. Also, I can't help but notice that despite the amount of piracy there is on the PC, publishers still can't help but port their games to the PC. It's almost like the piracy issue is, and always has been, way overblown by people who don't actually play on PC. Surgeon responds to the news of the PC port going live and says, PC Station 5 strikes again. No point owning a PS5. What a fall from grace. Look, I've said it many times, but if the loss of exclusive games is enough for you to completely stop seeing value in the console, maybe you should have considered more things when you bought the console. Things like performance, or services, or pricing, things other than the list of games that only you can have and it makes you feel special and no one can have them except you, and that inherently makes them valuable for some reason. Exclusives going away makes the industry better for everyone because it brings the consoles closer to actual competition with each other instead of everything just being a big stupid exclusives war. But you see this as a fall from grace because I don't know. Horizon Zero Omega says thousands of copies already on torrent sites. Thanks for pissing more PlayStation gamers off with this betrayal. And that was in response to the PlayStation tweet just about the game going live. A wonderful contribution, as always, Omega, but in case you actually think like this, or you know someone who does think like this, Sony doesn't give a single hoot about whether or not you're upset about this. They truly don't care if you're upset about games going to PC, because they already have your money. You already paid them for the PlayStation version and the PlayStation console. They already have your money, and they know you're going to keep giving them your money no matter what actually happens, so just keep that anger to yourself, little one. Because they genuinely don't care about you. They never have. The fact that you think they do is odd. This one starts a little off topic, but then it circles back around. Gaz tweeted out on the 21st, the same day that Horizon came out, he quote tweets the news that Helldivers 2 is the best-selling game of the year so far in the US, and 60% of the copies were sold on PC. Very nice. And he quote tweets it and says, I thought PC gamers didn't buy games? But then he gets quote tweeted by everyone's favorite Nick Marciel, who says, too early, bro, with the screenshot of Horizon Forbidden West getting cracked. I love how every stupid PlayStation fanboy is just holding on to this as if it means anything. Like, instead of just straightforward whining about PC ports like they usually do, now they're all holding on to this, like the fact that the game was cracked in 30 seconds, or that the game is available for piracy, or it's possible to pirate the game. You're all holding on to that while ignoring the fact that, again, top 3 on Steam, despite launching right next to Dragon's Dogma 2. The sales that Horizon is putting up in the face of a 30-second crack speed run is really just a testament to the fact that PC gamers do buy games. And if you still think otherwise, you got fucking sludge brains. Also, wild theory here, maybe the reason the game was cracked so quickly is because the security wasn't actually that high effort, because Sony isn't actually all that concerned with the piracy rate. Just a thought. Let's continue. And then this stupid tweet from Nick got a response that reads, Herman should stop releasing every fucking game on the PC. PC famers do not buy these games. They love live service, and RGAT is where Sony can win. Yes, PC gamers only buy live service games. That's all we buy. As Dragon's Dogma 2 is topping the sales charts, as Baldur's Gate 3 and Hogwarts Legacy were the 3rd and 4th highest grossing games on Steam last year, and as Sony themselves have sold millions of copies of their first-party games on PC, PC gamers do not buy these games. Reality is lame, and I don't like it. Mr. Positive quote tweets the news of the crack and says, this is great and this is helping PlayStation capture a new audience, upside down smiley. PC players are not thieves, they are just conservative gamers. So, Horizon Forbidden West was cracked because PC gamers are all conservative. The people choosing to pirate Horizon instead of buying it are doing so because they're conservatives. You know, I'll give it to you. This is a new one. I make a lot of videos like this, but this one's brand new. Pure PlayStation tweets out, Horizon Forbidden West cracked in 30 seconds after Steam launch, facepalm. It's a genius move by @Rockstar Games to not launch GTA 6 on PC day one like Sony does with its first-party exclusives. Pirating games is so bad for the health of gaming. If consoles cease to exist, the industry will crumble. Right, because GTA 6 would be so mass pirated on the PC that it's completely not worth releasing there, is your argument. Even though GTA 5 has been one of the best-selling games and most played games on Steam for literal years non-stop, you don't think that if Rockstar were to release GTA 6 on PC day one, that enough of that installed user base would come buy proper copies as opposed to the number of people pirating it, so much so that the PC port would have been more successful unreleased. That's actually where your brain went when you saw a screenshot of Horizon Forbidden West getting cracked. That's actually where we're at now. One more. T-Trezeract says, which is why I'm always not a big fan of Sony's decision in establishing PlayStation PC. I've said it many times before. Does Nintendo port their first-party exclusives to PC? Yeah, guys, this is a bad idea because Nintendo isn't also doing it. Nintendo is the #1 best example of how to make money. Except no, that's actually quite dumb. Different companies have different strategies for making different amounts of money and selling different products. It's almost like there are little ecosystems within the gaming ecosystem that are largely dependent on the platform that you play on. This is so tiring now. And I had a great zinger to end the video on, and I don't remember it anymore. I need to start writing these things down. Everyone uses scripts and notes, and I'm over here just like, I'll script like 2/3 of the video, and then I'll just wing it, and I'll remember the great things that I had to say, and that I was considering writing down, but I choose not to write them down, even though I write down all this other stuff that ultimately could have been so much better. My videos are terrible. Everything could be better. I don't know what just happened there. Sorry, toodle. The PC gaming space has absolutely erupted over the last decade or so. Like, it's always been a lot bigger than the mainstream has given it credit for, but it's actually nuts how much the PC gaming space has grown over the last 10-ish years, especially post-2020. The PC hosts the most gamers out of any main gaming platform by a landslide, and basically every major publisher in the industry is bending over backwards to try and make a name for themselves over here, which is why Microsoft and Sony have both started sending their first-party IP to the PC. It's why companies like EA and Ubisoft have done their best to carve out their own Steam alternatives, absolute failures as they've been. But every now and again, the console diehards feel threatened by the PC flexing its muscles, and they have to start spreading around a story that kind of makes the consoles look relevant to the future of gaming, but in reality, it's all just a farce, and they're all just desperate. Case in point, this post from Zubitech, a popular Twitter page that's mainly known for being an absolute PlayStation shill and completely fake insider that is only taken seriously by other PlayStation shills and fake insiders. This dude spends his days doing his absolute best to seem like a trustworthy source of information and like a knowledgeable tech insider, but his entire existence on this platform is just meant to hoist up the PlayStation and demean the competition. And the other day, he posted a supposed report of Capcom's 2024 fiscal year game sales broken down by platform. According to Zubitech, Capcom in fiscal year 2024 sold 3+ million games on the PlayStation family of consoles, 1.2 million games on Nintendo consoles, 206,000 games on the Xbox, and a measly 44,000 games on the PC. And look me in the eyes right now. Anyone taking this post and these numbers as canon deserves to be mocked across time and space. And there are several reasons why. First of all, you're claiming that in Capcom's entire 2024 fiscal year, the entire fiscal year, they only sold 3 million copies of games on the PlayStation? That's it? Dragon's Dogma 2 sold 3 million copies on its own in 2024, multi-platform, but also on top of Dragon's Dogma 2 in this fiscal year, Capcom has also released the Dead Rising remake, they released the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, they released a couple Ace Attorney games, there's a bunch of people buying Resident Evil games, there's a bunch of people buying DMC games, Street Fighter games. You really think only 3 million copies of Capcom games were sold on PlayStation in 2024? Scratch that. Look at this data again. You really think Capcom, as an entire company across all platforms, sold only 4.5 million copies of games this year? Because that's what these numbers roughly add up to. 4.5 million across everything. Zuby, you need to try harder. This is plainly wrong. But you know how else I know this is wrong? Because according to this data, you think the PC only sold 44,000 copies of games this year, which is fucking stupid on its own because Dragon's Dogma 2 is believed to have sold over 1 million copies minimum on the PC during its launch window. But you think the PC only sold 44,000 copies across the entire publisher? While PlayStation sold 3 million plus. Also, side note, why does the 3 million here have a plus next to the number? Like, why does every platform have an exact number, but PlayStation is just an estimation? My boy, that's not how sales breakdowns work. You either know the numbers or you don't. But you say the PC sold 44,000 copies, but just a couple weeks ago, Capcom themselves confirmed that the PC is actually buying more digital copies of their games than every other platform combined. The PC is buying over 50% of all digital Capcom games sold. Do you really think the PC only bought 44,000 copies of games in the entire fiscal year, while the PlayStation bought 3+ million? Also, if you go to Dragon's Dogma 2 on Steam, it has over 65,000 reviews. It also peaked at over 100,000 concurrent players. How do you take this 44,000 as canon? Are you snorting Chick-fil-A sauce? This is so plainly wrong. And what's Zuby's source, you ask? Oh, don't worry, he doesn't give one. He doesn't even try to cite a source. He just gives numbers, and that's it. Now, if you're wondering where Zuby actually got these numbers from, he didn't just pull these numbers out of his butt, but let me do his job for him and tell you what his source is. Because his sources, from what I can tell, are this report about physical shipped copies of Capcom games in the fiscal year. Not sales, not total sales, shipped physical copies. But this dude took the data of shipped physical copies and passed it off as the entire platform sales breakdown for the entire company. And you know who knows they're wrong about this? Zuby knows he's wrong about this. Because if you go to his hidden replies, this motherfucker, who calls himself a serious, trustworthy gaming news source, was hiding replies of anyone who showed the actual stats. You living heap of feces. But you know who took these numbers seriously and actually tried to console war with them? Way too many people. So we're gonna make fun of everyone who tried to take Zuby Tech as an actual source and use them in the console war, because not only are these numbers entirely not accurate to the Capcom fiscal year as a whole, but also, again, just a couple weeks ago, Capcom themselves said otherwise. The PC is selling more than all of the consoles combined in terms of copies. If you really think these numbers are canon, I say it again, you deserve to be mocked across time and space, and I'm here to do it to you. JRPG Me says 44K PC, quote, gamers are pathetic. Well, what's more pathetic? 44,000 people buying a game, or you actually thinking that only 44,000 people bought a game? Again, Dragon's Dogma 2 peaked at over 100,000 concurrent players on Steam. That means minimum, assuming everyone who ever bought a copy of Dragon's Dogma 2 bought it on day one, and all of them logged in at the exact same time, and then not another single copy of the game was ever sold. Assuming that's what happened, this number is still drastically wrong. Because even in that scenario, that definitely didn't happen, In that scenario, over 100,000 people bought the game. One game. But God forbid we use our fucking brains on the internet these days. Bryce the Oddball says, y'all swear up and down that PC is such this vital market. Well, Capcom thinks we're a vital market because we're buying more games than you. But, you know, don't let reality get in the way of your fifis. T.O. Grimm says only PlayStation and Nintendo users support this industry, which is why every major publisher is trying to get their games on PC. And it's also why the majority of major publishers continue to work with Microsoft. PlayStation and Nintendo are the only companies that support the industry. Their user bases are the only ones that support the industry, which is why there's a giant world of industry besides those two companies, right? Oh, you people are so smart, so intelligent you all are. At Dark Fury says, never believe PC cucks when they claim they buy games. 90% of them are just pirates. They have no say in what companies should do when they barely support the products. Which is funny because every single technological advancement on the consoles, like every single one of them, is just them catching up to what PCs have had for years. The PC is also by far the biggest market for games with the most users, the most diverse group of users in terms of games they're playing, what kinds of games they're playing, what kinds of tech they're running. The PC has the largest library of legacy games and games from previous generations, and we're the best at preserving games, but, you know, we don't support games. We don't support the products. Our community is full of modders continuing to support older games that the console community has no shits given about in the modern day, but, you know, PC gamers, they just don't support games because of this one obviously fake list of numbers I read. Like, you guys are like Facebook grandmas at this point. You know that, right? You're looking at numbers that are plainly and on their face completely wrong, and you're just running with it. You guys are literally Facebook grandmas. And you think it's a W. Allie says, PC Master Race, what happened? Oh, it's not free? Okay, laughing, crying. Again, this is physical shipped copies. They shipped 44,000 physical PC copies. Those are probably like the collector's editions of stuff because most companies don't really release physical boxed copies of PC games anymore, which I think is ironic because I think a lot of PC gamers would buy them if they were available. It's not our fault they're not available. Like, there's most certainly less of a market for physical games on the PC. I'll never deny that. But that doesn't mean there's no market, and I really wish publishers would stop acting like there was no market. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever a physical collector's edition of a PC game goes on sale online, do they not always sell out? Like, immediately? My brain goes to Starfield and to Doom Eternal and to Baldur's Gate, all of which had physical PC collector's editions, and all of which sold out. I'm not saying you should be putting PC games into like GameStops and Targets, but as a PC gamer, it'd be nice if you gave me more physical games. I'd be happy to pay you extra money for a boxed copy of the game. That's just me. TLDR, it's not PC gamers' fault that Capcom didn't ship more physical copies of the games, because we're buying the shit out of the digital ones anyways. Like, trust me, the relationship between Capcom and PC gamers is perfectly acceptable. Akut says this is probably for physical copies. It is. However, it doesn't change the fact that pirating is a huge issue for developers when releasing games on PC. I'm gonna keep saying it. PC gamers are buying more Capcom games than console gamers. I've said this a million times, but like, if 5% of the copies are pirated, but 95% of the copies are properly sold, Capcom's not gonna give a fuck. Most publishers won't either. That's just the way it be. You can't avoid piracy the same way you can't avoid used copies for console games. Like, I love how you guys just completely brush over that every time. There's a giant market for pre-owned games. Those don't contribute to the publisher's sales at all, but those are fine. But piracy on PC, ooh, that's different. Ooh, that's a big dastardly problem we gotta put a lot of money into. Oh, it's a reason to get off of the biggest platform as a whole. But pre-owned games, no, those are good. Those are totally fine. Like, do you guys think Capcom makes money off a pre-owned sale? Because they don't. And do you know how many people buy a pre-owned copy of a game and then go buy a proper copy? Not many of them. You know how many people will pirate a game and then buy a proper copy later? A lot more than none of them. Devonte says the way the PC guys be talking, you would think they would be number one on the list. We literally are number one on the list. What you are replying to is an obviously fake list. If you seriously think only 44,000 copies of PC games were sold the entire fiscal year, like the fucking irony of you using this fraud alert gif in response to such an obviously wrong thing. Like, what are we doing? How desperate are you? What are you gaining out of this? It's so weird. Wankonda Wan says the Gooner platform and the hand-me-down platform aren't surprising. What is surprising is the Kitty platform hitting 1 million. Gotta be Monster Hunter. Oh yeah, that's another franchise that sells fucking gangbusters on PC. I don't even know how many copies of Monster Hunter have been sold on PC. Fiscal year 2024 or otherwise. Monster Hunter is huge over here. I forgot that was a Capcom franchise. Not surprising that the PC only sold 44,000 copies. Like, I swear, open the user reviews of any Capcom game on Steam. It'll have more than 44,000 reviews. And you realize that in order to leave a review, you have to buy the fucking game. Anyone can fact check this in 2 seconds. But nobody wants to do that. You just want to take obviously fake numbers and use them as like ammo in a console war that benefits nobody. It actively does not benefit you to encourage this, but you're encouraging it regardless. What is wrong with you? Benj says, Lamau, looks like the multi-plat strategy is working so well. What's that? The most vocal crowds of Xbox and self-proclaimed gods of gaming PCMR seem to be lacking quite significantly. Oh, so the solution is not multi-platform games anymore? Is that what you're saying here? The solution to not enough multi-platform games sold is no more multi-platform games? Is that really the giant galaxy brains take you're fucking leading with? I read this obviously fake list of numbers, and I want to take it as canon, and also, multi-platform really working out for you guys. Like, you're giving your whole perspective away here, and it's the dumbest perspective on the planet. Because first of all, who gives a shit which console sells the most fucking copies of a game? Who cares? Second of all, why do you care? Why do you want games to not be multi-platform anymore? If you're a gamer, why do you want more gamers to not have access to multi-platform games? Why do you want that? Because reading this comment, that is clearly what you want. Like, you obviously have issues with the games being on Xbox and PC, but if you actually cared about games and not corporations, why should you care? What stock do you have in Capcom? Or I guess rather, what stock do you have in Sony or Nintendo, whose nuts are so far down your mouth they could play... I can't think of a joke. Moving on. Bigby Wolf says Xbox equals dead and PC equals pirating. What do they have in common? This skull and crossbones symbol. I don't know what's dumber, the fact that you actually wrote this and thought it was a winning point, or the fact that 99 people liked it and you're getting like no resistance on this. I just can't with this. I had 3 more screenshots I was going to include. I don't even know if I want to do this. This is just so boring at this point. Natsu says, damn, I have Xbox, but this is pathetic along with Master Race. Don't worry, we both did better than this. Zuby just can't fucking read, and neither can you, apparently. FGC Hitman says it's hard to support third-party games as an Xbox owner because I'm too busy with Rise Son of Rome. I'll admit, I don't know what to say to that one. I'll admit, I'm stumped. Last one. Stoic Gamer says, bunch of moochers and a bunch of thieves. No worries, PlayStation and Nintendo will carry, but then the weirdos get mad when the devs prioritize them. Lim Fao. That's when they'll gather to destroy devs, just ruining gaming. Ew. So, just so we're clear, you think PC gamers and Xbox gamers are going to destroy devs? You think they're an irrelevant part of the industry, but also they're capable of destroying devs? And also, do you have one example of this happening? Like one singular example of PC gamers and or Xbox gamers destroying a dev studio because we didn't get prioritized? Do you have any evidence of that? Like one singular example? It just always fascinates me how desperate people are to see things their way, especially when reality is slapping them in the face with different things. Like, the world is not the way that you want it to be. There is zero evidence of the world being the way you want it to be. and the evidence that you're using as evidence that the world is the way you want it to be is plainly and verifiably wrong. But not only are you going with it and publicly going with it, but there are so many people who are encouraging you to go with it. So I'm going to keep making fun of you, because why not? I make money off of you and it's fun, but just fuck, dude. What is to be gained? What is to be achieved? You people are pathetic. God, okay, toodles. PC gamers get a lot of grief from console dudes over the fact that we don't play a lot of brand new games right when they come out. It's just not really a thing that we spend a whole lot of money on comparatively to console gamers. Obviously, new games are still very successful on the PC, but everyone knows that the PC, in terms of single-player games, tends to be more of a long-term platform. Reason being is that with the library of available games on the PC being so ridiculously large, it's naturally going to be a lot harder to take people's attention away from everything else they could be playing in order to pay $70 for what you want them to play. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's just the nature of the platform. PC has way more games to play than consoles. But the other day, some stats came out confirming that the vast majority of Steam sessions during 2024 were spent playing games that were not released in 2024. This really is not surprising, and yet it started getting paraded around as if it was some evidence that PC gaming is dead or PC gaming is not contributing to the gaming industry, because apparently you have to be playing all the newest games at all times in order to actually be a gamer, and there's just no value that can be found in a game that was released more than 12 months ago, according to these people. But also, if you're trying to act like 15% of PC gamers playing new games is somehow bad, 15% of all PC gamers' time is still a buttload of PC gamers' time. You know what I mean? It's not even like this is a bad number or a sign of no success for new games on the PC. The PC community is massive with a bajillion games to play. And with how lame of a year 2024 was to many people in the gaming community, 15% is honestly alright. But this post from Icon Era talking about the 15% of Steam users. Oh boy, this was the saltiest thread I've read in a while, and it's so stupid. Okay, let's just read this. Let's just go through the responses here. Curious Silence Pro says, "Yikes, they play no games, lol. I thought it was only the Xbox community." So, PC gamers don't play games because we play a lot of games that aren't new. Are you serious? The majority of video games did not come out in 2024. Just because we didn't spend a lot of time playing games from 2024 doesn't mean we didn't spend time playing games in general. If anything, this means we're playing more games than you by a landslide. PC gamers play no games because they were playing all of the games that weren't released this year. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's so stupid. You're all so stupid. Let's keep going. FF Souls Addicts is not surprised. They're too busy wondering what's going on in console business. Wait, we're too busy thinking about what's going on in the console business, and that's why we're not playing new games? So we're not playing games because we're paying too much attention to the new games, even though we spent the majority of our time not playing the new games because we were playing the old games. Do you really think that 85% of gamers not playing new games means they didn't play games at all? Is that actually what you think? Do you actually think the only available games are ones that came out in 2024? Are you fucking dumb? Are you made of bananas and eggs in a bowl? Darth PSN registration says, "Damn, Steam users are not real gamers." That's right, you're only a real gamer if you only play new games. If you ever go back and play a game from your childhood, you should just kill yourself. You're not a gamer. If you only got around to playing a 2024 game at the end of December, you better have played that shit fast, because the second that clock goes to January 1st, you can't play that game anymore. Fuck yourself. Chris says 75% still playing Counter-Strike or Valorant, the other 10% playing Banana. That's 85%. Did you actually just split up 85% into two numbers and not realize that means that there's now 15% missing, because you don't understand that 15% not playing new games still means they're playing games. So you have a whole bunch of people here that are unaccounted for because you don't know how to fucking read a title, let alone do fucking math or understand that 85% still leaves 15% unaccounted for. What the fuck are you talking about? Darius Porter Bridges says them nerds try so hard to convert me to PC and this is it? Yeah, we try to get you to convert to PC because one of the big reasons to do so is the gigantic library of games from all years. Isn't this evidence that we're correct about that? Isn't 85% of people playing older games, isn't that just indicative of how many games there are to play? I'm gonna start crying. I'm gonna start eating plants out of pots and I'm gonna cry. The doctor said the remaining 85% of the time they spent review bombing Helldivers too. 85% of the time. So you read this as PC gamers spend 15% of their time playing new games and 85% of their time not playing games at all. That's what you took away from this? I don't... Oh my lord. Aspen says, describe PC Steam zealots to a T. I mean, we're always talking about Steam sales, and obviously Steam sales are not just games that came out this year. So, I mean, like, yeah, this does describe PC players to a T because we're playing the older games that we talk about playing. I know it's a weird concept to Twitter gamers that people actually play games instead of just acting like they play games. But yes, this describes PC Steam zealots to a T because it's hard evidence that we actually play games. We don't just buy the latest one and then let it sit on our dashboard and get 8% of the trophies. Let's keep going. Daft Punk 1993 says, I thought PC was a master race. What happened? What happened is we actually have a wide variety of games to play. I understand if you don't know what that's like. At Heyo Play says PC gaming is declining. That's right, boyos and girlos. We have a whole bunch of people playing games, but because we're not playing all the newest games all the time, PC gaming as a whole is declining, even though these numbers are really just indicative of how many people are playing older games in addition to new games, which, you know, to a logical person would imply that the PC gaming community is actually thriving, because this stat means there's a lot of older games doing well, which would imply that there's a lot of longevity on this platform. But you know, English is hard. Oh my god, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Kajudi says spend thousands of dollars just to play some old ass games, lol. That's right, if a game is more than a year old, it's inherently not valuable and there's no point to ever playing it. I am a true gamer. KL says Nintendo and PlayStation carrying this industry as always. Because you heard that PC game. Oh my, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I have more screenshots that I took. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Boats and host stacks is PC such inferior trash, gamers such lowly peasants. Hopefully Sony takes all their exclusives off this oh my god. Orion says, damn, and they're so desperate for those console trash ports according to the copium people. This stings, it burns, it's burning in my brain. Pan hates Xboxes. Yup, makes perfect sense. Most PC gamers are extremely poor and they can't afford to buy current releases. Is PC gaming too expensive or are PC gamers poor? Can you guys just make up your minds, please? How are PC gamers poor if also PC gaming is too expensive? Nor do the vast majority of them have hardware that can even run games from this decade. Steam gamers are exactly like welfare pass gamers, a plague on this industry. 82 likes, by the way. 82 people read this and were like, hell yeah, he gets it. This guy gets it. I can't do this. I can't do this. I just can't do this. Just kidding, I have a few more. Ariel says PC gamers is broke, crying emoji. Right, yes, PC gamers are broke, which means we're definitely not going to hear that PC gaming is too expensive anymore, right? We're gonna stop saying that now, right? Since, you know, PC gamers are broke. No, I think you're still gonna say that. XVault Gaming says $5,000 PCs with rainbow lights to play My Name is Mayo, skull emoji, skull emoji, skull emoji. Yes, people who spend a lot of money on their computers tend to use them to play games. That's how this works. Yes. Ronan Rakurai says this is why Steam numbers for concurrent players online is a lie. Not sure what these weirdos do on there. So we're not playing 2024 games, and that means the concurrent player counts are all a lie, because there's just no way we could be playing other games. Yeah, I lied. I don't have any more. I can't do this, Toodle. Hey guys, I did it again. I made a completely pointless tweet, and I made a bunch of people yell at me, and then I just signed off for the weekend and came back to a bunch of people yelling at me. I feel like I do this every week now. I don't know if I'm just like the lightning rod for stupid, which, you know, wouldn't really be a thing I put on my resume, but I have this growing talent for just finding a piece of gaming news, making a very simple tweet about it from the perspective of a PC gamer, and then immediately a bunch of console fanboys come and yell at me for having the take that I had, even though the take that I had was completely lukewarm and really shouldn't have offended, like, anyone. So the other day, it was reported that PlayStation has made about $865 million from first-party games and add-on content from non-PlayStation platforms in 2024, primarily attributed to PC ports on Steam, and, specifically Helldivers 2, which did gangbusters on Steam. In fact, it's been reported that Helldivers 2 sold more on PC than it did on console, which is a pretty big deal if you're a first-party console game publisher like PlayStation, because PlayStation Studios is a publisher. I know it makes people upset when you say that, but that's just the way it is. Look, publisher, PlayStation Studios, that's just the way it be. I know everyone's been yelling at Xbox for being a publisher. Now Xbox isn't a console, it's a publisher. Well, PlayStation is a publisher. It says right there. As a PC gamer, I've heard a lot from console fanboys that PC gamers don't buy games, that PC gamers just pirate all the games, and that PC gamers are big stupid poopy heads who mod games and vandalize games. That's real. I made a whole video about that one. People saying that modders are just vandalizing games as if no one has ever edited a piece of art before to make something new. Gee willikers, I wonder where that's ever happened before, other than literally every avenue of art. And there's been a pretty common narrative with PlayStation PC ports that, they all flop, they all do poorly, mainly because some of them do poorly, because PlayStation doesn't do a good job at promoting their PC ports like 60% of the time. But as I've pointed out, and as basically everyone with a brain has pointed out, when PlayStation does their job as a PC publisher, they make gangbusters. Every single time PlayStation actually, tries with their PC ports, they do well. Ghost of Tsushima did great. Helldivers 2 did great. God of War, Horizon, Days Gone, Spider-Man, they've all done great. Now, other games didn't do so hot. Sackboy didn't do so hot because it was launched years after release with no marketing at full price. Uncharted The Lost Legacy didn't do so great because it was Uncharted 4 and not 1 through 3, and also released years after the fact with basically no marketing. Because there are more games on the PC, and because these games aren't coming out as part of the initial release hype, that means the games have to stand on their own 2 feet in order to sell on the PC. You see how that's different? PlayStation's first-party games generally sell great right out of the gate on consoles because there is that release hype around it. And then depending on the quality of the game, sales will peter out over time. On the PC, we're not included in the launch hype, so if the game isn't good or doesn't have a really good, solid push to get us out there to buy it, we're just not gonna buy it. And Sony is quickly realizing that if they're not going to make their games or their ports good, they need to include us in the release hype to make up for that. But this point right here should be all the evidence you need that when PlayStation does their job as a PC publisher, because again, that is their job. They chose to be a PC publisher. It is their job now to be a good one. They chose to do that. Because that's another thing that PlayStation dudes like to say. They like to be like, oh, why are PC players so entitled? Just buy the game. It's like, you didn't have to come over here. You chose to come over here. If you bring your product over here and I don't want to buy it, I don't have to buy it. You chose to become a PC publisher, therefore it is now your job to make me want to give you money. Or not me specifically, but just, you know what I mean? Just you chose to be a PC publisher. You have to appeal to PC gamers now. And that's not PC gamers telling you what you have to do because they're entitled. It's PC gamers telling you what you have to do in order to stand a chance here, because we understand this market more than you, because we've been here longer than you. All that to say, this should be all the evidence you need that when Sony does their job as a PC publisher, they financially succeed, okay? And I quote tweeted this in my sarcastic little way, saying, but PC gamers don't buy games, I thought. And we're going to read through some of the replies that I got, because people were literally staring down the barrel of evidence that PC gamers do buy games, and yet they were still trying to argue with me over whether or not PC gamers buy games in a thread that literally started with a screenshot of evidence that PC gamers buy games. This is where PlayStation fanboys are at. You could be playing games right now, but instead you're... Okay, let's just start reading. Lazy Grill says, yeah, they don't. It says Helldivers 2, and that's an online title. You need an account. So, PC gamers don't buy games. Also, they bought Helldivers 2. That's not a great argument. Also, it said Helldivers 2 as well as ports releasing on Steam. Helldivers 2 and Steam ports were the main contributors to PlayStation's revenue outside of PlayStation's ecosystem. It says PlayStation made $865 million on non-PlayStation platforms, with the primary attributes being Helldivers 2 and other Steam ports. And you're saying, well, that still doesn't mean PC gamers buy games because Helldivers 2 was an online game. My boy, what does that mean? PC gamers don't buy games, bro. They just bought the online game. And where was the online game hosted? What platform? Where was Helldivers sold other than the PlayStation? Where were people buying it? So I responded and I said, they don't buy games because they bought the game is a bizarre angle to take. Lazy Grill responds, I'm talking about other single player games. Does Final Fantasy VII Rebirth ring a bell? Oh, you mean this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Also, I wasn't aware that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a PlayStation Studios game, which is what the article was talking about. They were talking about PlayStation Studios games, and that's very clearly not Final Fantasy. I love that PlayStation dudes will do this. They'll take a third-party exclusive, and they'll be like, yeah, PlayStation game. It's a PlayStation game. And then that game eventually goes to PC, and they're like, well, it was a third-party game. It wasn't actually a PlayStation game. But now that we're talking about PC sales, it's right back to, yeah, it was a PlayStation game, actually. Like, can y'all fucking pick a lane? Like, both lanes are wrong. Both possible lanes are stupid. But can you just pick one? Really annoying when you guys drive in between both lanes. It makes me want to honk my horn at you loudly. Christian responds and says, the one that a bunch of people bought? Lazy Grill says, there were reports of up to 200,000 torrents of the game in the first month of release. I responded, those, quote, reports came from one singular post on the Steam forums with no evidence. What do you have to say about PlayStation ports like Spidey, Death Stranding, God of War, Horizon, etc. that all sold great? That was at 9:57 a.m. on the 15th. I am still eagerly awaiting a response. Because they had nothing to say to that. Because why would they? Because I'm correct. Moving on, I guess, because I guess that's just where it ends. PlayStation dudes will enter the argument and then just leave and act like they won. Here's another good one. Piryaranj, I can't pronounce that. I'm not even gonna try. It says PC gamers don't buy games, and that's why Xbox is porting their games to PlayStation, releasing exclusive games day and date on EGS/Steam. Basically killed Xbox hardware. Results Game Pass stagnation because PC dudes are not buying GP subs. Should have followed PlayStation's strategy. There is so much to unpack here. PC gamers don't buy games, and that's why Xbox is porting their games to PlayStation. Yeah, I'm sure that's why they're doing it. I'm sure Xbox is porting their games to PlayStation specifically because PC gamers don't buy games. You fucking moron. PC gamers have been buying the shit out of Xbox games for a while now. Master Chief Collection has sold gangbusters on Steam. Flight Simulator does well, like, every time it comes out on PC. Sea of Thieves has done really well on PC. Avowed is currently doing really well on PC. Indiana Jones did well on PC. Like, I don't know what you're trying to say at this point. Starfield did phenomenally on PC. You know, say what you will about Starfield, but the sales numbers on that game on Steam were insane. Also, I love how PlayStation dudes are fucking incapable of defending PlayStation without bringing up Xbox. Have you noticed that? Like, they just can't do it. I was talking about PC ports of PlayStation games, and you brought Xbox into this and wrote me a fucking short story about how Xbox hardware is failing. Motherfucker, no one was talking about that. Even if you were right, no one was talking about that. What is this next part? This next part says, releasing exclusive games day and date on EGS/Steam basically killed Xbox hardware. Xbox games haven't been releasing day and date on EGS. I'm not sure where you're getting that. Results Game Pass stagnation because PC dudes are not buying GP subs, because apparently PC is the only place where Game Pass is available. Did you know that? Xbox Game Pass is only available on PC as opposed to Xbox. And I quote tweeted them. This was my contribution. I quote tweeted and just said, "Goofball detected." And fuck, get ready for this. Oh boy. Oi boy, here we go. They respond and say, "It's called basic knowledge. Microsoft thought they will sell billions of games on the Xbox and PC with billions of install base, but then reality hits them hard, lol, laughing face. It's really funny how Microsoft misjudged PC market even though they basically own it." Again, who other than you was talking about Xbox? The answer is no one. Nobody was. No one was talking about that. That literally wasn't the topic of conversation. But I respond and I say, "So you have nothing to say about this?" And then I responded with a screenshot of the thing that you literally responded to in the start of all this. And here we are on February 17th. They have not responded. So let me get this straight. You saw me say this. You saw this. You decided to make the whole situation about Xbox and Xbox games. I respond with a little reminder of how this conversation started, which is with hard evidence that PC gamers buy the shit out of games that they actually want. And then you just poof. Goodbye, everyone. I've made my point. Goodbye. I'm sure everyone will see me as the winner here. Goodbye, everyone. I have nothing else to say. You people are fucking stupid. I have this screenshot from YMNIS, who's been making a name for themselves, just fucking doxing people left and right for disagreeing with them. So that's fun. But they responded to the original news post and said every PC game has flopped but Helldivers 2 Lamau. Implying that I guess just the PC version of Helldivers 2 generated that, what, 865 million? Is that the point you're making? And you somehow think that's a winner? You think it's a winning point to argue that PlayStation made almost $1 billion off of one PC game? Like, you really think that's a winning hand? Like, it's wrong. It's wrong. That's not what happened. But you really think that's a winning point if it did? You think Sony made almost $1 billion off of one PC port? And you think that's a dunk on PC gamers? Can you go home? Here's another response to the original news post. I'm just going through these now. This is fun. Quinn says they need to improve their margins. Is too low. $865 million that they weren't making before. That's too low. And like, PC ports of existing games are much, much cheaper to develop than completely new games, obviously. And this report of 865 million is just in 1 year, okay? So let's just say, let's just give a ballpark budget with Sony inflated ass budgets. Let's just say that Sony spent, let's call it $300 million on PC ports in this 1 year, which is almost certainly way more than they would be spending in 1 year on PC ports. 300 million. But let's just say that's what it is. Let's just say they spent $300 million on PC ports. Here's the revenue again. That means they made $500 million on the PC, and that's money they wouldn't have made otherwise. But those margins are too low, according to Quinn. You know, an easy way to improve those margins would be to, you know, go day and date, but I don't really see you making that argument for some reason. It's almost like the money isn't actually what's important to you. It's almost like you want to act like you need you need PlayStation to be super successful in everything that they do, but then when you see them being successful in a way that you don't want them to be because it makes your penis a little softer, that PC gamers get to play PlayStation games without giving hundreds of dollars to Sony first, suddenly it's not about money anymore. Suddenly it's not about success anymore. When PlayStation makes a whole bunch of money, and money being, you know, an objectively measurable rate of success, that's good when they make lots of money on the PlayStation, but when they make lots of money outside of the PlayStation, suddenly that objective measurement of success isn't actually an objective measurement of success anymore. Suddenly that's bad now. And yet, the second a PlayStation game comes out and has a whole bunch of revenue coming out, you're going to be parading those revenue numbers around like it's a big victory all over again. You people are fucking stupid. Like, I'm sorry. This is just so stupid. How about one more? Edmarcio says, the statement is not true. It was primary driver by live services, games, and others platforms, Helldivers 2 and Destiny 2. Gee willikers, what platform other than PlayStation was Helldivers 2 available on? It's such a head scratcher to me. PC ports of single player games contributed very little to it. Okay, so the report says Helldivers 2 and other Steam ports contributed to this almost $1 billion. And you're like, no, the statement is wrong. Even though half the statement is true, the other half is wrong. Do I have that right? The statement says the primary drivers were Helldivers 2 and Steam ports. And you're like, no, the statement's wrong. But also Helldivers 2 is correct. Like, motherfucker. But again, like, how do you think this is a win? How do you, that you're like the other guy? This is almost $1 billion that Sony wouldn't have made otherwise. And you're like, it's just not that much, guys. It's just not successful. It's almost $1 billion. What are you on about? Oh, I just can't anymore. I can't with you people anymore. Listen, I have a loaded schedule of topics to make videos on this week. I have a lot I want to talk about. So I'm gonna cut this one. I'm gonna cut this one here. I would say I'm gonna keep this one brief, but I think this video is already like 15 minutes long. So my definition of keeping things brief really isn't brief anymore. You're welcome, I guess, if that's what you're here for. So I'm going to do the Doofus Club shoutouts now, and then I'm gonna go take a gigantic poo. Guys, I can't stop, okay? I literally am incapable of not making console fanboy Twitter yell at me for saying the most obvious things imaginable. I literally cannot stop, and I did it again. I've got a fever, and the only prescription is an infinite number of console fanboy yelling at me videos. So the other day, some data was posted by Circana, the same place that the console fanboys always use to yell at each other when the sales numbers come out, when the most played charts come out. It's like the number one place for console fanboys to get ammo on one another. But the other day, Circana seemingly confirmed that Monster Hunter Wilds, that's what it's called, right? It's Wilds, right? I did this in the last Monster Hunter video. Yes, it is Wilds. I forget which one-syllable W word is at the end of all of these games. But according to the new Circana data, Steam apparently made up more than half of Monster Hunter Wilds' total dollar sales in the United States. And since the United States is the second biggest gaming market on the planet, I think it's safe to say that the people who tell you that PC gamers don't buy games and PC gamers just pirate all the games and there's no money to be made in PC gaming, stop porting all the games to PC, those people are very, very silly. This gigantic launch in a gigantic market made over half of its money on Steam, which means it made more money on Steam than it did on both of the consoles combined. I don't want to hear the PC gamers don't buy games argument anymore, okay? You need to stop saying that. It's really, really dumb. And I quote tweeted the news, simply saying the PC gamers don't buy games crowd is suspiciously quiet right now. Because you know how it goes. Whenever a new PC port of a PlayStation game comes out or of an Xbox game comes out and the concurrent player counts aren't like the most impressive thing on the entire planet, these are the people who will come out and be like, PC gamers, they don't buy the games, they pirate all the games. But then when a PC game does extremely well, they have nothing to say. And it's really fucking annoying. So I pointed that out, and guess what? I found them. I found them all. I found all of the people who think PC gamers don't buy games, and they came to yell at me in the replies, even though the thing they're replying to is evidence that they are literally, factually, objectively incorrect. So we're just gonna read through these, okay? We're gonna read through some of my favorite responses that I got. All of the screenshots we're going to read today were responses to me, to this quote tweet. I didn't have to fish at all for this one. Sometimes I have to fill the space by going to like an IGN response thread or like a whatever response thread, random fanboys. But no, we're keeping it all in-house this episode. Everything you're about to see was responded to this tweet, this one right here. I need you to internalize this screenshot on screen right now because everyone is going to be responding to this. So I really need you to think really hard about what could possibly be wrong about my tweet. Really think about it. And now let's get into the people who are mad about it. Tripster says, show the worldwide numbers, not just one country. Tripster, I know it's hard for you to fucking read, but I'm not the one who made the numbers. I'm not the one presenting the numbers, I am commenting on the numbers. I'm not showing the worldwide numbers because not only do I not have them, I wasn't even talking about them. I was talking about the US numbers because that's what the article says. Can you read? Also, I find it fascinating how the PlayStation guys will constantly brag about like the physical UK sales when the UK is a much smaller market than America by a lot for the games industry. So it's totally cool to hand me data of physical UK copies and be like, look at how well the PlayStation game is selling. But if I take digital US copies, an exponentially larger market, and point out how over half of the copies in that market were sold on one platform, if I point out that that platform is probably spending money on the platform based on those numbers, now suddenly you can't use one country. Now suddenly we have to do worldwide numbers. Like, either one country can be significant to the game's success, or it can't. But like, also with the sheer amount of money that the American market contributes to the worldwide gaming market, we shouldn't even be debating whether or not the success of a game in the US market means it was a successful game worldwide. Like, we shouldn't even be trying to downplay the US games market right now. Like, that cannot be your angle to dismiss PC gaming as a whole. And that's not me being a red-blooded American saying the rest of the world doesn't matter. That's me simply recognizing how big the American gaming market is. It is the second biggest share of the industry as a whole. Also, the American market is generally less PC-centric than a lot of other markets are around the world. So if the American market is being led by the PC with this game, it is very safe to assume the rest of the world is following suit. That generic Eric says source also admits he cherry picks info. Go cry about it. First of all, where am I crying? Like, where am I crying? Second of all, source admits he cherry picks info. Okay, how is that relevant? How does that dismiss the point? PC gamers bought the shit out of Monster Hunter Wilds in the US. I say, hey, look at what they did. They bought the shit out of Monster Hunter Wilds in the US. And you're like, yeah, well, the source cherry picks other information. It's like, okay, so the info was cherry picked. How does that make it not real? This literally is not a dismissal of anything. Happy Day says, and there are over 2 billion PC gamers in the world, so if, we picked up another billion somewhere, that's a much lower percentage of supposed PC gamers who bought Monster Hunter Wild. Oh my goodness, you're doing the percentage argument. Wonderful. Look, let me just put it this way. The reason why people talk about percentage of the user base with consoles and they don't with PC is because the console is a closed ecosystem with a captive audience. And that ecosystem is directly correlated to those first-party exclusive games. Those first-party exclusive games and the ecosystem they exist on coexist and cross-promote each other, and they are closed, and they are much smaller than an open marketplace would be. Therefore, you should expect a higher adoption percentage when new first-party games come out on that platform than when they do on the other open platform. Because there is no first-party games on there's no first-party PC games. That's kind of the point. But also, the fucking irony of you trying to counter what I said. I said the PC gamers don't buy games crowd is quiet. I'm saying PC gamers do buy games. And you're bringing up percentages as if it offsets the 5 million sales that you just conceded to me. So let's just get this clear. I say PC gamers do indeed buy games. And your counter to that is no, they don't. They only bought 5 million copies. Bro, are you alive? Are you functional? Do I need to call someone? Lie down. What are you doing? You just handed me the win in this argument. You literally just handed it to me. Why would you do that? You're really trying to argue with me over whether or not PC gamers buy games while presenting me with 5 million sales on the PC. Why would you do that? This would get you kicked out of like a middle school debate club. What is wrong with you? Oz Reaper says, another day, another L for this guy. This guy being me guy. I'm taking the L here. PlayStation fanboys say that PC gamers don't buy games, and then PC gamers do buy the games. And I'm like, look, PC gamers buy the games. And then you're like, huh, another L. What fucking L am I taking? I tweeted a true thing, walked away for 2 days, came back, made a video on the responses, and am now financially profiting from said video. I'm gonna need you to explain how I am taking even one L here. It's fucking Dub City over here. Are you kidding me? Someone else did a stupid thing. I said, hey, look at the stupid thing. I got more people like you to say stupid things, and now I'm making money off of your stupid things. You're literally generating an infinite money glitch for me. I am fucking drowning in W's right now. You can't spin this. Bigby Wolf responds to my tweet and with just a link to Icon Era, because you know they're unbiased and honest when they're quoting Icon Era at you. But the Icon Era thread in question is the one from like a week ago where they were talking about how Steam users only spend $2.10 per month. Never mind the fact that that was 1.7 million Steam users who joined in 2023. That wasn't across the platform. It was just those less than 2 million who joined in 2023. Less than 2 million fresh accounts. Reminder, this is how many accounts there are on Steam. So less than 2 million of them over, 26 months is how long they were tracking them. And those 1.7 million people over 26 months spent an average of $2.10 per month. And you blew that up into Steam users as a whole, paying only $2 a month. But like, let's just say that's true. Let's take your argument as to why PC gamers don't buy games. Like, look down here at the bottom. They say, looks like PC gamers really don't buy games. This is their evidence. So let's take your evidence to the next level here. You're taking this survey and applying it to everyone on the PC. Well, as you've probably heard, there are over 900 million PC gamers right now, and the industry is growing. The PC industry is steadily growing, and we're at over 900 million right now. So let's just say those 900 million gamers are only spending, it averages out to $2.10 a month. $2.10 a month across 900 million PC gamers. Which means, as your evidence of PC gamers not buying games, your evidence means that PC gamers are spending almost $2 billion every single month. Let me repeat that. Your evidence for PC gamers not buying games is PC gamers spending $2 billion every month on games. That's not my number, that's your number. You think $2 billion a month, over $24 billion a year. That means PC gamers are not buying games. I need you to wipe your presence from the internet. You cannot be on the internet. Like, you just can't. Internet privileges are gone. Get off. FF Souls Addict says, in the US, why not worldwide numbers? I don't know. I wasn't talking about them. You guys can't decide whether or not we're allowed to talk about one country. And it's like I said with the other guy, even if we are only talking about one country, it's the second biggest market in the world. So if it's doing this well in the second biggest market in the world, it's safe to assume that it's doing good in the other ones, because it's the second biggest one. And even if it's not doing good in the other markets, if you're doing that well in the second biggest market in the world, that still means it's a giant number attached to the... You people are so stupid. This isn't an argument. Fratanga's brother says, did you buy it? What are your hours in the game? I never said I bought it. I've said a million times that Monster Hunter doesn't appeal to me. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about whether or not I personally bought it. We're talking about whether or not a bunch of PC gamers bought it, which they did. How is this relevant? I don't really give a shit about Monster Hunter. That doesn't change the fact that a fuckload of other PC gamers do. That's all I was saying. Can you read? Leo says, nope, y'all still don't buy games. Excellent counterpoint. I'm quitting YouTube. You just destroyed me. I don't know what to do now. I'm gonna have to go drive off a bridge in a go-kart because I can't do YouTube anymore. You just shut down my entire point. However long this video is at this point, it doesn't matter. I should just put this first and put you on the thumbnail. My channel is yours now. You can have it. Actually, Leo, you can have my channel. You're smarter than me in every way. It drives me insane. It drives me insane how you can't just read a thing. And also, even if you can read a thing, no one on your side of the fence can explain to me why this is a bad thing. No one here can explain to me why you even care. PC gamers buy games. How the fuck does that hurt you? Capcom's making lots of money off of PC gamers that they will then use to make more games for everyone because they're a multi-platform business. How the fuck does this hurt you? Why are your feelings hurt? It doesn't make sense. But fucking keep them coming. You know what I mean? Keep them coming. Because this really is just an infinite money glitch for me. Console fanboys say stupid things. I'm like, hey, look, this stupid thing isn't real. Maybe you should stop saying it. And then you all come and yell at me. I put you in these videos. I make money off of them. I get to laugh at you. We all get to laugh at you. And I get to make money off of it. This truly is an issue of your own making. All you have to do is not care so much. And all of this goes away. I would have to come up with original ideas. I can't do that. Are you fucking kidding me? It's 2025. Original things are illegal. You guys... It's like, I love making these videos. I love making them, but every time I make another one, it's like, wow, this makes no goddamn sense. How are you people real? Okay, let's just do this. Black Myth Wukong was kind of a weird situation to watch. I haven't played the game. I might eventually. It's pretty far down in my backlog, I admit. But I thought it was really interesting how much weird console warring there was surrounding Black Myth Wukong. Because, like, it wasn't first party to anyone, but it also didn't launch on the Xbox because of some technical issues that apparently arose with the Series S version, which caused the Xbox version as a whole to be delayed, and then the game ended up being really big and successful, so the whole situation turned into a giant console war because Xbox dudes were like, hey, where's the game? And PlayStation dudes were like, mwahahaha, you don't have the game. And meanwhile, the PC was absolutely carrying this game and just not even really thinking anything of it. So it was just this really weird situation where this third-party, critically acclaimed game was being used heavily in the console war for several months, all the while the console wasn't even where the game was primarily successful. And a few days ago, I made a video basically about the fact that PlayStation dudes love to act like they're these gigantic, like, supporters of games and that the gaming industry would crumble without them, and like, if you don't launch your game on the PlayStation, then you don't make any money, and also if you launch your game on the PlayStation as well as other platforms, that's stupid because PlayStation gamers buy enough games to support every one of the exclusives. And then, much to my not surprise, this information came out the other day about how hilariously lopsided the Black Myth Wukong sales were between the console and the PC. Just how lopsided are we talking here? Well, according to the reports, about 80% of the copies of this game were sold on the PC. 80%. And you may say, Joe, this is stupid to talk about because this is a third-party game. Who cares about the platform breakdown of the sales on a multi-platform third-party game? The fact that we're talking about this is so stupid, Joe. What are you doing here? To which I would respond, I didn't want to talk about this. I wasn't even thinking about this. We're only talking about the sales platform breakdown in a console warring light because you made it that way. No one said you had to use Black Myth Wukong in the console war. No one said you should use Black Myth Wukong in the console war, but you chose to use it in the console war. You chose to parade Black Myth Wukong around as a PlayStation console exclusive. You chose to hold it over the Xbox guys' heads for literal months. And now, here we are with this. I just want to know what's the excuse? You guys hoisted this thing up like crazy. You guys were treating it like a PlayStation exclusive, like an actual, like, proper PlayStation exclusive, and you couldn't even manage to buy a quarter of the copies. Y'all, what are we doing here? So if you thought my previous video on the fact that PlayStation fanboys don't actually buy games, if you thought that video was wild, get ready for this video, because a bunch of them tried to justify this little stat, and they did a really bad job. And again, I don't want to use Black Myth Wukong in the console war. I don't want to do this. I recognize how stupid this is, but we wouldn't be here if you hadn't started it. You see how that works? I'm going to make you look stupid in a way that I would never have even thought of doing if you hadn't started this. So I don't want to hear anyone in the comments be like, Joe, you're being so petty right now. Joe, this is so stupid. I know it's stupid. That's why we're making the video. You chose to be here. Let's begin. LGM responds to the news and says, quote, but PC gamers don't buy games. Fernando responds and says, outside of China, they don't. In China, don't have pre-added games. and I'm going to type on your behalf because you decided to enter an argument when you can't even type fucking words. What he means here is that outside of China, people don't buy games on the PC, and the reason why it sold well in China is simply because in China, there's no game piracy. Did you know that? That's fascinating news. I had no idea, because that's not true. There is absolutely game piracy in China. I don't even know how you're trying to make it seem like there isn't. But also, are we really about to do the thing where we say PC gamers don't buy games while staring at evidence that PC gamers buy games? But let's just look at the news here again. So 30% of the total player base is outside of China, okay? That means this game sold 7.5 million copies outside of China. 80% of the game sales were on PC, and about 20% were on the PS5. Do you see where I'm going with this? Also, the fact that this game was a top seller on Steam in every single region for weeks on end, clearly PC gamers outside of China were buying the game. Clearly that is what happened. But you're actually making the argument that outside of China, PC gamers didn't buy it. And the only reason they did buy it in China was because piracy isn't available in China. Which is not true, but is also ridiculous that you're even trying to suggest that that's what happened here, because you're suggesting that millions upon millions of PC copies were bought in China, suggesting that all of those millions of people would have pirated the game. This was a mainstream success, but you think all of the normies, all of the mainstream PC gaming normies, would have pirated the game if they could. But since they couldn't, those millions upon millions of pirates decided to pay full price instead. You think the pirates made an exception for this game because, can't pirate this one. Guess all of us better buy it. Like, that's just so clearly not how this works. Oh, but Fernando was on a roll. He was really doing his best to make sure it seemed like PC gamers didn't actually buy the game that PC gamers bought, because apparently this matters to you. Again, I wouldn't be making this video if people like you weren't doing this. This whole thing is your fault. He responds to the news itself and says, so outside of China, the games sell 5 million on PS5 and 2 million on PC. Lol, PC player outside of China really don't help much. PS5 all the way. So now you're agreeing that PC gamers outside of China bought the game because you just concede here 2 million, and then you say PC gamers don't help much. So are we suggesting that 2 million copies is like nothing? That's like insignificant? Because you say PC gamers didn't help much outside of China, but then you also said 2 million people bought the game on PC outside of China. So are we saying that 2 million copies of a game, that's like an insignificant amount of copies? Interesting. I'm sure you'll keep this same energy next time a PlayStation game sells 2 million copies. Except you're not going to keep that same energy, and everyone knows it. But just remember this, next time PlayStation dudes are boasting about copies sold for PlayStation games, just remember, 2 million copies on the PC, like, that might as well have not even happened. That's so insignificant. But 2 million copies on the PlayStation, golly gee, that sure is impressive. Those PlayStation guys sure do buy those video games. PC gamers don't, though, even though they did the exact same thing. Because something China, I guess. George Ribeiro says 20 million on PC? Tripster, we all love him, responds and says only because consoles are banned from China. Ah yes, consoles are banned in China. Look at how effectively banned the consoles are in China. Look at that. There are no consoles in China. You amaze me. Every time, Tripster. Every time, you amaze me. I distinctly remember you guys boasting about the fact that Sony's really happy about their expansion into the Chinese market, but now, when it's convenient, we forget that happened, I guess. So, Sony's doing really well with PlayStation sales in China, but also, consoles are banned in China, so don't talk about how PC gamers bought the game more than we did. This is fun. This is productive conversation. Really great stuff happening right now. Puerto Rock 77 says Black Myth Wukong sold 25 million copies. 30% of the sales were outside of China, 7.5 million. PS5 makes up 20% of the sales, 5 million. Since the PS5 has a low footprint in China, those 5 million sales are most likely outside of China. Logically speaking, PS5 makes up the majority of the 7.5 million sales outside of China with 5 million sales. So, man, we're real confident in this, aren't we? We're really like working overtime to make sure we establish that PC gamers don't buy games outside of China. We're working really hard. Except, ooh, how awkward it is that Nate then responded to you and says they say it was over 2 million sales on the PS5 in China alone in August when the game had 3 million sales total on PS5. Dang, swing and a miss there. I love that. Just like you see this news and then you immediately spring into action with a quote tweet to explain how the news isn't actually properly like displaying the news. Here's how the news is actually supposed to be portrayed, but you didn't even do it right. You say that the PS5 primarily made up the sales outside of China, but then your numbers aren't even in sync with what the developers said about PS5 game sales inside and outside of China. You're trying to twist the news into a narrative, but you didn't have the forethought to fact check your own narrative. Like, it's just that unfathomable to you that PC gamers buy games. It's just unfathomable to you that maybe PlayStation dudes don't buy games as much as you say you do. And again, we wouldn't be making this argument that you don't buy games if you didn't enter the ring this way. We wouldn't be talking about the platform breakdown of Black Myth Wukong's sales if you didn't start this. If you don't like it when people make fun of you for making an ass out of yourself, perhaps you should stop making an ass out of yourself. It is entirely within your ability to not make an ass out of yourself. In fact, I would recommend it. You will appear much smarter and more respectable this way. Retro quote tweets the news and says, PlayStation gamers don't buy games. Am I doing this right? Because remember, whenever the PC version of a game doesn't sell as much as the console version, it's all, PC gamers don't buy games. They pirate all the games. So, you know, when PC gamers buy the shit out of the multi-platform game, that means PlayStation gamers don't buy games, right? Right? That's how this works, right? Villain Street responds with a picture of his physical game collection. It says, I saved that for a reason. He really goes ahead and makes that stupid statement. And then his picture is captioned, easily debunked his claim, PlayStation gamers don't buy games. Let's see, his stack. Can PC Filts even have a physical collection? Because apparently, unless your collection of games is physical, that means you just don't buy games at all? Like, you don't spend money on games unless they're physical games? Is that the argument you're making? Because that sounds like the argument you're making, but that's also just a fucking stupid argument that no one should be making because it's dumb. Also, are you suggesting that you've never bought a digital game ever? Because I mean, if you only buy physical games ever and that's your entire game collection, I mean, I could easily turn this argument around by pointing out that you haven't actually played or owned that many games if that's your entire collection of all time. You know what I'm saying? You may not own all the digital games that you buy, and that is absolutely a huge problem, never gonna deny that, but that doesn't mean you didn't financially support them, just because they're not physically in your closet. Retro responds and says, this is literally a joke that you got offended by, and then WebDJ responds, but PC beggars not buying games isn't a joke, most of y'all are shit-eating third worlders. I love how mature and level-headed the PlayStation community is, you know? PlayStation gamers yell about PC gamers not buying games, PC gamers being like horrible gamers, they don't support the developers, they never buy games, they pirate all the games, they steal all the games. And then a developer comes out and is like, hey, by the way, PC gamers were buying the shit out of our games, thanks for doing that. And the PC gamers are like, haha, look at that, we do buy games. And now you guys are just flipping out and calling us shit-eating third worlders. You're looking at evidence that PC gamers bought the shit out of a game, and you're saying PC gamers don't buy games still. Also, you're shit-eating third worlders. Please take us PlayStation gamers seriously. Please hold our opinions with high regard, because we are definitely mature contributors to this economy and this gaming marketplace. PC gamers buy the shit out of games. I hate to break it to you. If they didn't buy the shit out of games, every company wouldn't be trying to get us to buy their games on the PC. PC gamers buy games just like how you console kids buy games. The only difference is that we buy them with our own money and you buy them with your stepdad's. If you don't want us to make fun of you for being idiots, stop being idiots. Toodles.